Welcome everybody, welcome to today's stream. Hope you all had a good day so far. Welcome. Let's try some new builds that are finally possible to be played, for the better or for the worse. Welcome. So here we are, and yeah, I'm just trying out the new healing. Yeah, you heard that correctly. Healing conduit. You can now share quickness with it, and I want to try it out for a couple of minutes before I go and do some metas. So the interesting change that they made here is that now this trait makes it so that you can share your numinous gift. It's quite a lot. So when you just legend swap off cooldown, you already have quickness uptime. That's good. That is just quite nice. And you have other good boons as well, so I want to try it out here with the golem and see how it goes. But yeah, as always, let me know if you have any questions, any comments, anything. Just let me know. And we'll see how this one goes. So let's get in combat and share some boons, I guess. Yeah, the quickness is very easy to get. And we have to see what we can like upkeep here as well with other boons. So protection is very easy just by using the attacks here. Fury is easy. Yeah, I think it's like a very low intensity healer build. Yeah, like you're just hands off and swapping like F1 off cooldown. Seems like a decent one. I mean, the thing is you don't provide that much value other than like regeneration, and I guess those 5 boons are like permanently up. And you provide some resistance here and a lot of heal. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. We have to try it out later, how it works in actual fights. The problem that I see with this is, again, I'm not the biggest Scepter fan. I think Scepter and Revenant is, I don't know. I feel like the ally targeting and just in general the attacks, they don't seem like, I'm not a big fan of them. Welcome Vishnu, welcome. So I don't know. I feel like it's not bad. You know, it's definitely not bad. Let's see how much healing we output here in a extremely damaging field. You know, let's go all in. But like the boons here, they're definitely like, it's just like 2 buttons and you have like 5 boons up permanently. I mean, that's pretty good. But again, the flexibility is a little bit lacking, of course. Typical Revenant problem. So let's see here. Spawn my previous one. There we go. And let's check it out. We have to get there first, and then let's see how it goes. So let's activate this, and then we swap, and probably not that much of a problem. Yeah, I mean, as expected, you know, this is extremely damaging field, you know, extremely damaging. Not that much of a problem. I mean, we can also like, if we had an allied, we could also use that. Of course we don't, so you have to see how it goes, yeah. Chronomancer is like completely fine. Like Chronomancer got nerfed. Yes, it has less CC. It has less like general like usefulness because of its nerfs, but it's still an S tier healer. So if you want to play Chronomancer and you like the healing build, don't worry. It's still very much like working. This is not a problem. Extremely damaging field like with 2 buttons. It's actually pretty close to a low intensity healer as it gets. But yeah, like talking about Chronomancer, I actually think Chronomancer is not a big problem. You can still play Chronomancer completely fine. There is like nothing on Chronomancer that I would say is like so nerfed that there is no reason to play it anymore. Not even close. Like if you like Chronomancer, go for it. Like it really is absolutely like really good. So let's see if we can get a meta event of the first one. I guess didn't work. Okay. Are we testing extreme low intensity now? Yeah, exactly. That was the reasoning behind that. It was extreme damaging field with just pressing 2 buttons. Yeah, it worked. So I would say it is surprisingly good. Like really, I want to try it later in some strike missions and maybe even raids, to be honest, because it's really easy to upkeep boons. Like pressing 2 buttons, hands off and auto attack, and you provide like healing boons, and I mean that's good. That's really good. Yeah, I think the always low intensity is the thing is like people always say low intensity builds are a problem but I think it always depends a bit on what you're aiming at. So I think, for example, I like to create low intensity builds that have value to their party other than just DPS. That's why I think a healer build would be even cooler if I could come up with a healer that is actually low intensity as well. And to be honest, this one was like pressing 2 buttons of cooldown and upkeeping like 5 boons and healing. Seems pretty low intensity to me. But there are some people that say it doesn't really depend on the different amount of buttons you press, but it depends on the speed that you press them. So for example, Evoker with the specialized elements trait, some people consider low intensity because you press just 4 or 5 buttons of cooldown. And some people say, no, this is not low intensity because you spam like, I don't know, 30 actions per minute because they come off cooldown so fast. So I think that this always a little bit dependent on who you asked and what you are aiming for. I don't know why this is not working, why I can't join. I guess we have to wait a bit longer. But who knows? Who knows? Yeah, there is some healing creep going on. I would definitely see that. Like, I feel like we have the amount of healing that we do is like higher with the newer specs. The amount of boons you get by just pressing a couple of buttons is higher. And in general, we also see the amount of utility you get from a single skill. So how much a single skill provides is also increased. Like looking, for example, at Ritualist. Ritualist has this Innovate skill. I think Innovate, how is it called? Innovate the Preservation, so the F4. If you press that skill, it gives you stability. It gives you H's. It gives you, I think, resistance. And it also gives you some protective bubble or something like that. It's like crazy how much you can get for a single skill. It's really, really strong. So Ritualist is like a prime example of like feature creep on a single button. It's not purity of purpose anymore. So that makes it way easier for new player to get into healing, which I love. I think we need more healers. But at the same time, if you're a healing enjoyer, it gets also way more boring. If you want to play a healer, you press like 1 button and then for the next 30 seconds, you can like hands off keyboard and relax. I mean, there are arguments for both sides. It really is the case. So yeah, what do you think about the balance patch? Do you think that's good how it's going? Or do you think that should be improved? I mean, like I said, I see both sides. Absolutely, yeah. Varina is struggling with Engineer when they don't play it. Do you think the latest changes are any good? The Engineer changes are weird to me. So the Engineer changes, there was a stealth nerf in there, which was just decreasing the amount of damage you do depending on the conditions on the boss, which is a little bit of a decent stealth nerf depending on the encounter you do, up to 10% or something. That is noticeable. And then you have some reshuffling going on. And I don't know, I feel like changes that don't change a lot of the meta is a little bit, for me, I'm not a big fan, you know? If I do a change in a game, then I think the goal should be the change actually impacts the game. The goal is to actually change something for the better. And if you make a change just for the sake of making a change and reshuffling some traits, I know they had a good goal in mind, but if that doesn't change anything with the builds and stuff, just that you have to take different traits or that the new players are a bit more confused, I think that's bad. Then you shouldn't make the change in the first place. So for me personally, I think it would be nicer to say, okay, if that is not changing that much, we don't do it in the game. We don't bring it in the game. I think either make more bold changes or make the changes just not reshuffling stuff so that new players are not getting confused that much. That is my take there. I like they didn't touch my power troubadour. I like bricks on the rest of the nerfs. Yeah, I think, to be honest, I did not expect to see any troubadour changes. We got some in World vs. World, but that's about it. So I personally think that's completely understandable. Troubadour was one of the best balanced Visions of Eternity specs, probably together with Gale Shot. Yeah. From what I saw, only one build got affected in PvE, so I don't care much about the patch. I don't know. I think a lot of... I think actually, Vishnu, you're not correct there. I think from the stuff that you specifically refer to is only the changes that we got, the late balance changes, so to say, the changes that we saw yesterday, the first time. But there are a lot of changes to Warrior, to Guardian, to Necromancer, to Engineer. Those are the top examples that had changes that were announced before Christmas and they made it through now. So you might have forgotten them already, but they actually made it through. So we have, for example, the change for Warrior that Fast Hands, which was this trait here, is now baseline. So that means that my cooldown of weapon swapping in combat is now baseline, which is obviously a big buff to specific builds that didn't use Discipline. Stuff like that, yeah. I think the Viva buff, Dark Magic, is a good direction. Spear Weaver was completely garbage, and I think it's really nice that they buff it. I still think Weaver needs more. I think Weaver is not in a spot where I would say it's like good. It's good in in specific scenarios, but it's not good that you can say, yep, if you want to play Weaver, you will have a good time in every single game mode. I think Weaver needs a bit more. But I feel like they are a little bit scared to touch Weaver with more, let's say, bold changes, because, for example, with Mirage, if they do bold changes with Mirage or Weaver, some things that are actually really like intricate, then it often goes like crazy. Like, for example, the last time they changed Mirage, we had like 65k DPS benchmarks or something. So they are really scared to do that with Weaver, because those two specs are actually really, yeah, special, let's say. So I hope for more. I hope for more. But why I have feeling they do that game, I actually don't know. I have no clue why it often feels like that the balance changes they do are more like some of them hit the mark, but a lot of them you don't know where they actually aimed at. So I really think either they should make more bold changes so that we actually see where they're aiming at, or they should really try to tell us what the goal is and why they didn't go harder on a specific change so that we actually can see why the goal was not completely reached. I don't know. I'm not a balance developer for ArenaNet, so I cannot tell. I can just tell my opinion, and I think a lot of the changes are actually in the correct direction. I think most of them are just not all the way yet. That's the biggest issue that I have there. Yeah. Luminary nerfs actually is significant in PvP? I would say so, yeah. If you played Luminary as a healer or as a DPS, I think you noticed the difference, but you were so far above everything else in PvP that now you are at a level where I would say it's an S tier build. Before you were like double S, triple S tier build or something like that. Now it's like more in line with the other specs that also are meta specs. So if you like Luminary, you can still play it and be absolutely highest level of gameplay with it. It's just that it's not above or everything else anymore. Yeah. Exactly. I'm not saying Weaver is the thing is Weaver. I really like Weaver. The design of Weaver together with Mirage is for me the most interesting design we have across all elite specs. Just saying it here. The thing is that I don't really like about Weaver is that they haven't touched Weaver mechanics and, for example, utility skills and even the traits in like the last 5 years. And that led to a situation where almost every single other elite spec got at least changes that power crept in it in a specific way. But Weaver was just always the same. So the players that actually play Weaver and that are actually good at it still make it look good. But the other 90% that can't really play Weaver that well just make it look really bad and don't like the spec anymore that much because it just is not performing that well. So I think they should just be bold and say, okay, either we make a big rework to Weaver or we buff it a bit so that the 90% that actually don't get the high numbers are also having fun with it. I think those two possibilities are the future. I hope they get that. I really hope, because I really like Weaver. But looking at the last 5 years, I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah. I have no clue, Cobalt, why this case. I don't know. Welcome, Snowdrop. Welcome, welcome. How are you all enjoying the balance patch? How is the new builds? Do you like them? Did you not even try them? Do you just say I don't care about balance? How is it looking? What's the feeling? Really not sure on the power conduit changes. Just feel like they made it very spammy without actually changing anything. I think the funny thing is power conduit is now so strong. It reaches like one of the highest benchmarks. It's giga strong and it's so easy to reach those numbers. Just press, you're spamming all the buttons, almost. It's crazy. I'm with you there that I'm not happy with how they implement a lot of the changes, and I'm pretty sure they will nerf it back down because I think that wasn't the intent to buff power conduit. But yeah, I mean, conduit is still absolutely strong even after the nerf, so I guess conduit is always like a good DPS pick, and now it's also a healer. Yeah. Is there really 3 people working on the balance patches? I don't know. I think they have at least 3 people. At least we know CMC, Trick, and Roy. They are in the balance team and they hold those streams. I don't know if there are more people or if they have other, topics to work on. But there's definitely 3 people at least involved, yeah. Yeah, I agree, Dark Magic. I like Viva a lot as well. I'm not the best Viva. I'm definitely also in the 90%, but I still like to play Viva. I just would like to have a reason other than my fun. You know, I would also like to have Viva because it's a good pick. Yeah. I'm not saying that you need to make the class easy. I'm just making, I think you should make a class that is hard to perform on, and to get these like mediocre damage numbers or good damage numbers with Viva. I think in an ideal world, you would have a way to also reach those like somewhat mediocre numbers without like having to sweat like crazy. So I think Viva is a spec that hopefully gets a little bit of a buff in the way that you have a reason to play Viva other than just like absolutely tryharding. I think that should be, or having only for fun. That's my opinion there. Is your Bruiser Scrapper PvP build still good? So I think the build is completely untouched, so you can still play it. It's more like the meta revolved around other things now. So if you fight, for example, a Luminary or fight a Conduit, that can end up like pretty badly for you. But in a lot of cases, I would say it's still like an B tier, A tier build, something in this direction. If you play PvP and if you want to try out the build, I think it's actually still a decent build. But like I said, I think the power creep of the other specs is definitely noticeable. It's not that this build got worse, it's just the other builds got better relative to it. Yeah, I mean, just if you have any question and it's like blocked by the mods, just ask it in another way. I'm sorry. And of course, if you spam some, how's it called, some links or something, that's also blocked. As a returning player, I wanted to thank you for your videos and website. Good stuff. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. If you have any like feedback, comments, improvements, I'm always happy to hear that as well. This build is so easy. Look at this. I'm top DPS here in the squad and I'm like reading chat more than I'm pressing buttons. This is like really easy. I have a build guide about this as well. So if you're looking for an easy warrior build, DPS build, that's it. That's it. Really strong. Exclamation mark websites in the Twitch chat or on my YouTube channel. Just scroll down in the description. Guild Wars 2 is an amazing game, but those balance team is going. Yeah, I think the balance team is like not like the thing is I would not say the balance team is doing a bad job. I just feel like they don't have the resources to put out more balance than like a lot of times we need more balance and we just don't get enough. That seems like what is currently happening, at least for me. Welcome, Patricia. Welcome, welcome. How are you all doing? How are you all doing? Welcome, Filthy. Everyone is here. Very good. Yeah, I'm almost there at 20k subs. Yeah, I hope we reach it soon because I already have a giveaway prepared. Slight teaser here for the like loyal audience that is already here in the stream. We have a big giveaway prepared. Like, yeah, 20k subs is awesome. Thank you very much, Acoustic. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the prime. Thanks for your support. Hope you enjoy the stream. But yeah, I have a big giveaway prepared. And yeah, I just hope to launch it very soon. 20k subs on YouTube. Offense sword did not get changed. It's like almost exactly the same since the beginning, but there was a trait change. Let me showcase. Here, dual wielding. And this dual wielding makes it so that you get increased auto attack speed when you use an offhand weapon that you can also use in your main hand, which significantly obviously buffs weapons like sword offhand because you can use sword main hand. The same goes for dagger, the same goes for mace. And this is like the indirect buff to sword offhand, not necessarily because of its own damage, but because you can buff your auto attack. So that's the interesting part here. Interesting part. Yeah, I saw the Lord Heisen video. I just saw it because we had some debate in chat that people claimed I stole the build, as usual. But obviously I had a different build, but people just didn't look. So yeah. The classic. I give credits where credits are due, but if I have come up with my own build that is just somewhat similar but not exactly the same, then people claim it's Lord Heisen's build. Always. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah, Paragon is like now very flashy. That is true. It is very flashy. Yeah, I mean, always glad to hear that if you think that my help for the Guild Wars 2 community is like good. That's my goal. I try to be helpful to the community because I love this game. Thoughts on power virtuoso toughness and concentration armor and rest berserker stats? So I think that is decent. The thing is, you have to understand if you are in a group, typically those toughness and concentration stats are a little bit wasted. But if you're in a solo situation, like in open world or something, that is a decent pick. I actually have that in my build guide as well. Yeah. If you have 60% base crit chance, that's perfect, yeah? If you're in solo situation, that's perfect. That sounds like really good. In a group situation, like I said, oftentimes it's better to go more aggressive if you're the DPS or more defensive if you're the healer. I would not go in and have a middle ground. Yes, everyone can join the giveaway. Everyone can join the giveaway when it's up. But we have to reach 20k subs on my YouTube channel first. We are barely there. We just need a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Yeah, I feel like the thing is, we have the problem with the Guild Wars 2 community is, Snowdrop, that we have actually a decent amount of people that actually create builds. But it doesn't matter what kind of build you create. There are always some people that just generally say, this guy's build is better. Even though that was never a competition in the first place, we just wanted to make nice builds and share them. I feel like the content creators are all very nice and friendly to each other, but then we have some radical fans that just misinterpret everything that we say. I never said anything bad about Lord Heisen's builds or in anyone's builds, to be honest. It just feels like a lot of times people, I don't know, see something in my crediting or not crediting of specific builds that I attack anybody. That was never my goal. Never. Hope they made it very clear here. Yeah. But are your group PvE builds viable for fractals? Yes. So group PvE builds are meant to be played in strike missions, fractals, and raids. However, you can also, like I'm just doing, play them in open world. However, in open world, you cannot guarantee that, for example, a DPS build like this that doesn't provide quickness or alacrity will succeed, because sometimes you just don't have any supports with you that provide those boons. But you can see we are here in a 50-person squad, so we don't have an issue in this situation here. But in general, I would say, yes, you can play those, so to say, instance content builds that I shared there in fractals, raids, strike missions, in open world, in group events as well. The only thing in PvE where I would not necessarily recommend playing those builds is in solo situations in open world. So if you want, for example, to, I don't know, want to solo legendary facet in, like, how is it called? Crystal Oasis or something like that. That's probably not the build then. Yeah. Do you have an overall favorite build in the game? Oh, it changes every day. Probably every day, yeah. I just play builds that I have like fun currently. Right now I play a lot of Paragon in PvE. In PvP I play a lot of Conduit, and in World vs. World I play a lot of Luminary. But that changes, like next week it's probably something else. So no, I just like to switch around. Welcome, Benji. Welcome. I'm new to Guild Wars and have been watching your content. Thanks for the videos. Glad to help. If you have any questions, just ask. We're always happy to answer here. Yeah, DPS Chronomancer is really good. Like, if you play a DPS Chronomancer and also provide some boons to yourself or to your party, that's already a very... Oh, that is a lot of damage. A very good build to choose, yeah? So, Quickness DPS or Alacrity DPS Chronomancer, I like this build a lot. So, be sure to use some kind of boon providing in open world so that you can guarantee, for example, Quickness. That is awesome, yes. And it even got buffed with this patch. It got buffed. Chronomancer is now better than before. So, yes, good build. How do you know the right path in Swampland if you don't have Blish? So I can show this actually now. Give me a second. I can showcase this because now it's over, so we can go into. Give me a second. I will go. It doesn't really matter. I will go in Swampland and show you what I mean with you can see that, or it's always the same path, so to say. Swampland here. I will show you. What is your personal favorite gold farmer in terms of fun and gains power? I think it's fractals. It's definitely fractals for me. I really enjoy doing like generally like just fractals, having fun, and like having a competent group for like 1 to 2 hours, getting all the dailies done, and then we are good. So that's Swampland. And what's the path? What is the path for getting the wisps in? Because that's what you mean. So you just have to always jump over those things, and then you have it here. So you always have your 3 things here in this part, and then you have like random spawns of here. I think here's one as well, and here. So one of the 3 of those will be filled, and then you always have to go like the direct way, something like that. Yeah. And there is not a single path that you have to take. Sometimes you have someone portaling you or something like that, but the path is always the same. It's just the wisps that the starting positions change. And also the traps and stuff also are always the same. So you can always climb up your like here, this part. You can always climb over this tree, and you can always see on the ground. So those like tripwires, they also are always at the same position. So if you zoom in and stuff like that, you see that. It's just like patience, knowledge gathering. Just you will get there at some point, yeah. So it's not something that I would say is you have to know in the beginning, but you will get there. So for example, you can stand on this stone here, and then let me get up. The scalp cannot come to you, so you can get your hands off and can say, okay, I'm waiting until the others are ready. Then you can grab the wisp here. And then if this path closes, because that happens, then you will just go out around and go here and just jump over the traps and get there as fast as possible. There might be also something coming up here, then you can climb over this and jump here and get over this. So it's just like slowly getting to know where to go. Yes, in the beginning you will fail from now and then, but you will slowly learn where to go and where to step. That is the tip that I can give you there. Yeah, Filthy, I don't know what is the problem. I have definitely to talk to him if that's the case, if there's something like going on like behind my back, or I don't know. But I never stole any build without giving credits. If I have a build that I want to promote, I say this build is by this person. If I don't have a build that I came up on my own, or that is completely different than someone else's build, then I will just like not credit anybody because I came up with it. So hope that is not coming across something like that. I definitely have to talk to him then. Yes. Yeah, I think don't worry. You know, you get better and you will understand Swampland way better. Just takes time and you will get there. Yeah, definitely. How do you avoid the traps? You can just jump over then or use stability. Yeah, if you jump like all the time, like Snowdrop mentions here, you can just avoid like most of the traps as well, because if you jump all the time, you are like in the air 80% of the time, so you will not get hit by them. That will happen, but yes, I will play Quick Heal. Or maybe I will just fill. I guess I will fill as usual. But yeah, jumping is always good in Swampland. In general, jumping gives you an advantage over a lot of attacks. A lot of attacks, especially shockwaves and fractals, but in open world sometimes as well, you can jump them. So a lot of players always think, oh, there is an attack incoming, I have to dodge them. But you can jump a lot of attacks actually in Guild Wars 2, which is really like a nice mechanic. I think you don't have that in, like, for example, Guild Wars 1. Absolutely, because you cannot jump there. But stuff like that is definitely, yeah, it's noticeable. So basically it would be very good to transition into Paragon for Swamp. I wouldn't say that you need a Paragon for that. It was just the character that was locked in. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. So I personally think it's like completely fine to use anything, but of course a Paragon or something that gives you stability or Condi Cleanse helps a lot. Like, that is good. And they also finally, I'm so happy, finally bug fixed this. This is now also sharing stability now again, because previously it was only giving you self-stability while also giving a stun break for allies, which is obviously nice, but not as good as giving stability in the first place. So yeah. So by the way, if you want to join this Harvest Temple here like Dwimdad, you can just join this group here of Jewels. Harvest Temple Daily Strike Mission, Counter Strike Mission on EU, you can just join. What build is meta for tanky world versus world PvP? Heavy armor build. So meta for heavy armor builds are either heal luminary, DPS luminary, or power or condition conduit. Those 4 builds are probably the best for PvP and world versus world right now. So I want to showcase a little bit of Chronomancer, because people say, oh, Chronomancer got nerfed. So I want to play heal Alacrity Chronomancer. And you will notice it's not bad. It's definitely not bad. Far from it. Yeah. Best is to go in solo and play around and become familiar with the surroundings. Exactly. You know, when in doubt, try to figure out stuff while you are alone, so no one pressures you to just be like not in the correct spot at the correct time. Just check it out yourself. The traps work alone. You can make the jumps. Of course, you will not succeed if you don't use multiple portals, but that's not the issue. The goal here. You should just try to get to understand how to go from Wisp 1 to the goal, Wisp 2 to the goal, and like this. And you will probably have a good time there. So, I want to play... What do I want to play? Let's go Giver, I guess. Just, why not? And heal Chronomancer. And, yeah, I think everything is good. Just checking. Nope, I have to go this. Yep. Alacrity heal. And improved alacrity is now base. That's crazy. Alacrity applied to you is 50% stronger. Or recharge speed is 50%. So we can now go illusionary reversion, which means we get just a bit more alacrity. That's good. Nothing else here is really that important, I guess. And what do we want here? More stability, I guess. CC. I guess a reflect would also be quite good for the later parts. Yeah, let's do it like this. What was the last build you mentioned? So, Conduit. You can play Revenant, Power, or Condi. Both of them are working quite well in competitive modes as well. So, Luminary, either heal or DPS, as well as Conduit, Power, or Condi. Those 4 builds I personally would recommend from the new specs that are really, really good. But if you are looking for World vs. World specifically, be sure to check out my tier list for Zerg. You can check that one out and you will find all the builds that are currently really strong there as well. Or, of course, if you're for roaming, go for roaming. If you're looking for PvP, go for PvP one. I have tier lists for all of them, so you should be fine and hopefully find the ones that you are looking for. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the best way to do... Oh, they also nerfed this. That's so sad. It's really sad. It really is. But yeah, one of the best ways to do, in general, Swampland or Fractals nowadays is to have a White Mantle portal device or Mesmer portal or something like that, because then you can actually, so to say, skip most of the mechanics of Fractals nowadays that are requiring you normally to move through obstacles in any way. And obviously that is insane value if you can just use portals there. You put down, oh my god, we already lost 2 players. What? That's crazy. 1 player. That's good enough, I guess. That's fine. Don't worry. Lagging is never fine. Never nice. So not a big deal. Not a big deal. We will carry you through and enjoy the laid back experience of Harvest Temple. Yeah, happens. I think out of the hundreds of tier 1 runs I have done, I've seen 2 people who didn't like having noobs on the team. Most other tier 1 groups have patience. Yeah, I think in tier 1, I think you typically have more patient people. It's just like if you get to tier 4 and you have still people that are a little bit slow, then some people get a little bit annoyed very fast, I would say. So if you are a bit more relaxed and laid back, then not a big deal, but sometimes you will encounter people that are not, and that can be a bit annoying. That is crazy. 60 seconds on this nice well. That is also, you feel it, but it's like you can live with it. But it's definitely a hit. It's a big hit. How was Mesmer after the patch? I really like it still to this point. It's not like, it is not as good as it used to be, 100%. And you can also notice the nerfs quite drastically. But I feel like it was so over the top in a lot of cases, for example, for healing in PvE, that even now it's still top tier build. Yeah. So don't worry too much. Still a good one. Yeah, I hope that as well. And you too. You too. I've been playing for 5 to 6 months now and your videos have been extremely helpful. I wanted to ask 2 questions. Is the spear good for Revenant PvP World vs. World? Oh yes, it's one of the best weapons for Revenant. Yes, it is extremely good. Extremely good weapon. Do you offer one-on-one coaching? Yes, you can just ask me in Discord chat for that. And whenever you have time, we can figure something out for that. Yes. In Discord is the way to contact me this way. Yeah, but I'm always open to that, of course. So, looks like a decent group actually from the DPS. I mean, we have one really crazy high DPS. The rest is not that impressive. But yeah, the Guardian buffs were interesting. I can tell you that. The Guardian buffs are absolutely interesting. Oh no, let me pot out. That was close. It is so, sometimes this renders like in the last few seconds only for me. If I'm on low setting, I should have like reactivated the setting. My bad. But this is a bit painful if you don't have it. Yeah, I think it's really funny that you can like run the quickness one and have 100% alacrity on yourself as well. But of course, that is only like helpful in a solo situation. It is in a group situation. I want to provide alacrity to my allies, so I have to take the alacrity trait stretch time. Yeah, I would rather have played, like, to be honest, like Troubadour here, because I have like also distortion share, but I cannot play alacrity Troubadour. That's not gonna work, so it's fine. Provide some stability here. Looks good, looks good. I mean, you can see it. It's not a big deal. It really isn't. It is still absolutely strong build, not a big problem to survive and to help your allies. You have still a lot of stability access, still a lot of like utility in the kit. Just straight up a good one. Good build. How Heal Scourge holds up with the new specs in the PvE balance and in Fractals. So I think Heal Scourge is like never has been a bad build since the Transfusion Sage especially. I would say in like raid runs, Fractals, it's still a good build. It's not like top tier healer in any of them, but it is a really safe pick and it's one of the easiest healers to play. So I personally would say if you enjoy Necromancer and Scourge specifically, I think that's like a definitely high A tier, maybe even S tier build depending on the group and the situation. In Fractals, it's a little bit worse than it is in raids and strike missions, just because you cannot provide that much stability as other stability providers like Firebrand, like Troubadour, like even Chronomancer now, stuff like that. Even those have just a little bit more uptime of stability and H's, which is really good. Of course, like even Paragon in some situations. But I think like that if you can build around that and if you know what you're doing, I think it's not a big deal. So I think, like, to be honest, Scourge is underrated as a healer. I don't see them that often anymore, even though it's like a really good build to this day. Yeah. So yeah, you can make some crazy builds. Like in general, Chronomancer got like so many changes that are actually changing builds for Chronomancer in PvE. It's really fun. You can make some crazy, cool, interesting ideas and come true. I really like looking at solo Chronomancer builds and I think, oh yes, we can cook something up there. But it was always a good pick for soloing Chronomancer because you could always provide alacrity and quickness to yourself. And now it's even easier. So yeah, definitely a good balance patch for power DPS or just generally solo Chronomancer enjoyers. It's just the healing that got a little bit negatively affected. Heal Scourge has never been bad, but the better the group, the more it falls off. Exactly. Heal Scourge is like a carry build for beginner groups. There it shines the most because you can provide barrier so that even if they don't dodge, you can heal them, so to say, beforehand. You can provide a lot of resurrection. You have just a lot of agency in the kit. But the thing is that it has a bit of issues with like flexibility. It's not the most flexible healer when it comes to the classic, for example, fractal picks that you would normally expect. So if you have a really good group, it's better to have a healer that is a bit more active, proactive, and flexible. But in, so to say, mediocre groups and stuff like this, I don't know. I think it's like still a good pick. And if you like Scourge or Necromancer as a healer, it's good. I really think so. So play Heal Scourge seemed as a good place to start. Yeah, I think if you want to go into healing and want to learn about it, then it's really nice to start as a Scourge. Because as a Scourge, you don't have to understand every single mechanic and you still can help your group with healing, barrier, boons and stuff like that. That goes for almost all healer, but I think the access to it on Scourge is actually quite straightforward. So I agree. I think it's a good place to start. It definitely is. So what do we have here? I guess let's do... I wanted to do Iceboot Saga 5 and strike missions and the Dragonstorm. Okay, we will see. We will see. Do you think it's a good idea to do a power conduit after the changes? Was working on it? Yes, welcome by the way. Yes. Power conduit will probably get nerfed. I highly suspect they didn't intend the change that they made with how good it is now. But it is a good build. It really is. Like, I personally would say, if you want to start out as a DPS build, Conduit right now is on top of the charts because it's really easy. You just press a few buttons and then you have the loop. It's like 5 buttons that you have to press in a specific order. And after that, you just repeat and repeat until the boss is dead. It's extremely easy to learn and does over 50k DPS. It's crazy. Really good to start. So if you are a Revenant enjoyer, probably right now Power Conduit is the best choice. But Condi Conduit is also not nerfed that much as you expected. It really isn't. So still crazy good. Yeah. Power Alacrity Luminary, decent for Fractals and Raids? Yes, it is. It's a really good one. I think it's really underrated how good Luminary is in terms of DPS, but also as the support element. So if you want to play support, you can still have a really good time with it because it has the like DPS on a Alacrity DPS, but it also has the good like boon providing. It has the good utility with CC, with blocks and healing even in there. For a DPS build, that's awesome. So really good one. Yes, it didn't get like that many. It changed a bit in the traits, how they function, but the DPS in the end is not really that affected. Yeah. Discord is the ultimate litmus test for your group. If they need you, you are in for a ride. I like that one. Yeah, somewhat. Yeah. I think it is not as busted at carrying groups anymore because of the transfusion changes and stuff like that. It's more like a normal healer, but it still is probably the healer that has the most amount of potential to carry a group if the group is somewhat chaotic. Let's say it like that. Yeah. So you will see what we get here. But in general, I would say if you have a specific class and you want to learn it, then there is, for every class, you have a healer that is quite easy. What are we doing here? You will see. But in general, I think, like, for example, Necromancer is probably one of the easiest times to start as a healer with Heal Scourge. But if you go for Alacrity Luminary, that's a good pick for Guardian to start if you want to have a really high impact one. If you like, for example, Elementalist, I think Tempest would be my starting profession. If you like Mesmer, what is the best? So let me quickly think. Quick DPS. What are we playing actually? Quick DPS. Let's go Gale Shot. I really want to play some Gale Shot. How easy is it to acquire multiple Ascended Gear sets after you finish going through story on your first character? I started buying Power Gear on my Mesmer and can't use it since I'm playing Star. It depends if you use the gear from the Wizard's Vault already. So if you get the stuff from the Wizard's Vault here, then it's like quite easy to get another set. If you play, for example, Strike Missions and Fractals regularly, you can go to Strike Vendor, you can go to this guy and get the Ascended Gear there. If you play Fractals, you can go to the Fractal Vendor. So it depends a bit what content you are playing. But for me personally, I think it's for a new player, if you just commit some time in the game and have some fun, it can be quite fast to get Ascended Gear. But if you want to have it right now or tomorrow, it can take a while. So Ascended Gear is something that acquires over time. You know, you get that over time, it piles up, and then you end up like me and you have like multiple characters full of Ascended Gear. But in the beginning, it's not something that you get from day 1 to day 2 to day 3. It's something that you will have to work towards, but it will change slowly as you go. So I personally would say it's not hard. It just takes a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks until you have every build that you want to set up. So just be patient, play the game modes that I mentioned in my Ascended Gear guide, and you will slowly get to it. But every single game mode, World vs. World, PvP, Strike Missions, Fractals, Raids, even Open World has a way to acquire Ascended Gear. Some of them are faster, some of them are slower, but you will always get there. So play what you like, and if you want to get it the fastest way, be sure to check out my Ascended Gear guide. Also, as usual, on my website. If I build equipment as a heal scourge with Ascended. Can I use those same equipments with heal chronomancer? Yes, you can. You can use the exact same gear because they are light armor classes and they share the same gear stats. You can just use, for example, Harrier, Minstrel, or Givers, whatever you like. You can share that one with your heal chronomancer. Perfectly fine. Very good combination of builds. Yes. I play Sword, Chill Bleed Reaper with full Viper gear, good DPS, good sustain, and good CC. Yeah, sounds like an interesting build. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah. Welcome, Chain. Welcome, welcome. I would say Swiss Guardian, I would say Condi Conduit is not like that. It's nerfed. Yes, it was like almost 60k DPS. So yes, you definitely notice a difference. It's not as high anymore. But I think if you expected to survive the patch with 60k DPS, I have to tell you, you were a little bit illusional. So yeah, I personally would say it's quite like, it's still good. You know, it's still, as far as I know, I think it's still over 50k DPS. So it's still really good. Like the nerfs were there, yes, but it nerfed it down to a number that is still extremely high. So if you like condition builds on Revenant, that's still probably the way to do it. Yeah. So I would say, yes, it's sad that they nerfed it, but understandable to say the least. Yeah. And I like this build a lot. It was really fun to play and have a lot of AoE, just 60k DPS. It was really fun. But I guess it makes room for hopefully playing other builds like Power Conduit, Shocker, or stuff like that. Yeah. Let's play some Gale Shot. The only thing why I don't like Gale Shot in strike missions is not a big problem, but in, like, for example, Fractals, quick DPS Gale Shot, you don't have the best cleave. And that's a little bit like that. You notice that. You definitely notice that. So yeah, that's why I played in here in this specific like content strike missions a bit more than I play it in other content. Because it's just, if you don't have cleave, it feels quite bad. It really does. It really does. So there we go. So let's concentrate for the opener here just for a second so that I get it correctly. Nice, we did it. And now we are good. We are good. Is Gale Shot viable with Greatsword now? I think Greatsword was like almost untouched in terms of it got buffed, don't get me wrong, but it's not like a build that I would say is like now like suddenly you play Greatsword on every single Ranger. So I personally would say if you like Ranger and you like Greatsword, sure, you can use it, but it's not something that I would say is like now meta, as far as I know at least, because you just really want to use your classic longbow attacks and combinations, because the longbow attacks combinations, they are just perfect in terms of what they provide to your kit. You know, you want to be the guy that provides like a lot of projectiles, and that's just something that Gale Shot has perfectly in its kit with a longbow, you know. So Mistral, you know, Greatsword doesn't have any synergy with this attack, but if you have a longbow, it just multiplies the attack damage of Mistral like crazy. So stuff like that. So I think, yes, it works, but it's not best in slot Greatsword. Sadly, I made a video about this like a while ago, like last week, I think. And I think Greatsword is such a cool weapon on Ranger. I think it doesn't need much, but I feel like right now it feels like the damage is okay, but it's not a weapon that you would pick on a lot of Ranger specs if you have like the other good ones, the other good options. So I personally would say maybe give it a like some kind of reset on the 2 skill other than the 5 reset, maybe some auto attack chain reset, stuff like that. That would be fun. You know, it's just some more synergies and therefore increasing the damage if you play it in PvE. Maybe, who knows? Welcome, Saint, welcome, welcome. Does chatbot buff work in the rest of open world or only on EOD? It works everywhere in the open world. It doesn't work in raids and fractals and stuff. So if you want to play it in like, for example, get a buff from End of Dragons maps, and then you go into like Path of Fire maps, you still carry over. At least if it's not an instance that you go. Yes. I'm looking for a Mesmer build, Virtuoso Mirage for PvP, but I can't use Spear. What build should I play? So I would probably play Greatsword and probably like something like Sword Shield with Virtuoso. That would be my way to do it. Virtuoso with a power-based setup and Greatsword, Sword Shield is probably my best pick for PvP right now. I would say, yeah. If only they would unfuck the Thief portal to function both ways, like every other portal. Yeah, that is an interesting thing. I think the Thief portal is... I like the design of the portal, but the power level in PvE right now makes it really lackluster, sadly. Which is quite funny to say, because, like... Oops. I should have casted that, but it's okay. I guess we lost our alacrity provider. Also not perfect. But it's fine. Yeah, I think like the Thief portal is such a cool skill. And I really hope that a lot of the community understands how fun this is, the idea to portal as a thief. I think that is really fun. The problem is, I feel like most people don't even know it exists. So if they know, they typically don't really use it correctly, or I don't know, don't use it that much, because it is just a little bit clunky. You know, having a portal in one direction is not often like useful. It sometimes is, sure, but not always. So let's get the burst combo. Nice. That would be a poke balance patch. I would agree. I mean, there are so many cool changes they could do to Thief. To be honest, I was very surprised that Thief didn't get that many changes. It was just Antiquary, I think. Was there any change to core Thief or any Thief builds other than Antiquary? I think there wasn't. That is crazy to me. That they just said, yup, Thief is in a good spot. It's not untrue. I still think Thief is in a good spot, but it doesn't mean you could make some nice changes to it. At least in my opinion, yeah. We have stability. No, we don't. To jump. That's okay. There we go. I'm still new to the game. Played for 2 months and I like Reaper, but I really miss a tanky build. I played tank on and off in WoW for 18 years. Is there such a build? So typically in Guild Wars 2, there is in raids only, there are healers that play the tank role. So you combine healers and tanks in Guild Wars 2 in raids to one role. So I would say Chronomancer is really good for that. Luminary is good for that. Like some really bulky healers like those are good for that. But tanking in Guild Wars 2 is, I would say, you can count that on like 4 hands how many times you really need a tank. So it's not a real role in Guild Wars 2 in most cases. It's just in like 15 raid fights or something, maximum, probably less, where this is like the case that you have a real tank, sadly. So not really that much necessary in PvE. Is Conduit good in World vs. World? Oh yes, Conduit is really good. If you play in small scale circs like you are doing, 10 to 15 people, Conduit is a build that is good as a power DPS, is good as a like condition DPS. Both of them are awesome because they have CC and they have damage. It's just perfect, especially the Condi version. So yeah, good one, good one. Thank you very much, Thin Retno. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the support. I'm playing Engi Mechanist and want to try another build. Do you have any recommendations that aren't complicated to play? So if you are looking at a build that is also engineer specifically, I would say that you can play some rather easy amalgam without any kits, or you can play also Scrapper without that any kits if you wanted to. Those two are really good. If you're looking for other classes as well, other than engineer or mechanist in specific, I think there are so many. Yeah. So tell me what you are most interested in if you're looking for other classes as well, and I can tell you an easy build to start out there. But yeah, thanks for your support, really appreciate it. I will answer the other questions in a second, just let me get the opener straight as usual. Gale shot opener is the only thing that matters. And then we are good. Ooh, we have no stability. A little bit painful, that's okay. I just came back after many years. I only have Heart of Thorns. What's the best class back to play until the next discount season? So if you have Heart of Thorns, and then I would say probably Reaper is a solid pick. Reaper is actually really easy to play and does a lot of like damage in all game modes, and doesn't really require any other builds, any other expansions to make a rather decent build with it. But it always depends a bit what kind of class you enjoy. I would not recommend classes that you don't enjoy. You know, in general, play the class that you enjoy the most. You will probably have a way better time in the long run. That was really scuffed. I think we didn't have like stability. Now we have stability, but it's way too late. That's fine, we did it. What changes would you make to Thief? I think Spectre is the only Thief build that is like really, I don't know. what can I say? I'm just I really enjoy Spectre. I'm just a Spectre enjoyer. I think it's by far the most favorite specialization for a Thief. So I think Spectre is in a good spot. The other three, I don't know, maybe they just don't vibe with me, or maybe they need more flexibility, because I feel like they just all are DPS specs for me in my mind, you know? Thief is, for me, the DPS spec, and that's fine if you like this playstyle, but I like some agency on my classes, you know? That's why I play, for example, Chronomancer, because I have the ability to swap different utility skills. As a Thief, you have DPS, and that's pretty much it. Why are we doing Cold War? What's going on? Did I miss something? Okay. Interesting. I mean, we still have some time, so I guess I will do it. But yeah, what buffs would I see to Thief? Like we said earlier with the portal, I think that would be a really welcome change. I would really like to see some kind of ability to make it more, maybe make some reflect in there, that you can provide some utility with that, stuff like that. I don't know. It's really interesting what's going on here in the chat. So apparently we did Icebrood Saga 5, and then we just like swapped to a different interesting. Okay, no, we don't do it. That's good. Very good. Mainly Enchi, is it possible to make PvP Legendary Armor without ranked? No. You have to play PvP Legendary Armor, and you have to get it to PvP Legendary Armor, you have to play PvP ranked and or automated tournaments. So even more try-hard content. So I would say if you don't like ranked, then better not look at PvP armor at all. Yeah. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Mainly Enchi. So if you're playing mainly Enchi, then I would recommend probably the most low intensity build that you can get is Rifle Mechanist or Condition Mechanist. Those two are very easy to start and very easy, and you will probably not beat the DPS numbers of those easy builds. However, you can play Zero Kit Amalgam, which is also a decent build. You can also play Zero Kit Scrapper, which is also somewhat decent. But Mechanist, in terms of like how easy it is to acquire the damage that you will need in harder fights, it's probably always the superior choice. So personally, I would say if you like Mechanist and only play Power, maybe try the Condi version. If you only play Condi, maybe try the Power version. If you tried both of them already, I would say maybe give like Amalgam a try, because that seems to me the better choice for now. But Engineer is somewhat not known for its low intensity builds apart from Mechanist. It's just often very kit reliant, meaning that you have to swap in and out, and it's just not the easiest class to start with. But if you like a challenge, sure, go for it. If you could add one more class to the game, what would that be and why? Oh, that is a really good question. I like that one. I'm not very creative when it comes to like design of new stuff, but I personally would say that I would like to see some kind of vampire, something in this direction, something that is made to sacrifice its own health, somewhat similar like a necromancer does, but just a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more in a way that you feel like you can also support your allies. I feel like the blood magic trade line in necromancer is nice and all, but I feel like some kind of like, what is the maybe some kind of like life stealing into conversion of healing and stuff like that? Why not something like that in Guild Wars? That sounds like a very cool idea. I think blood magic has that. I think it doesn't have it to an extent where I would say that is like a full class yet, but you could make that. Maybe some kind of like, maybe make, I don't know. I'm not too creative to come up with where's the healing. That was a little bit scary. The healer is scaring me. I have to be honest here. The healer is scaring me. My burst combo is gone. Should have used the spirit action over skill. Not so good. Not so good. So there we go. We did it. Having Heart of Thorns opens Chrono. Isn't that a better idea? The problem is with Chronomancer that Chronomancer is extremely good, better than Reaper in flexibility. However, I think Chronomancer is extremely strong if you have Soto, if you have Chantier Wilds. Those two expansions bring Chronomancer to another level. Healer, get access to Rifle, which you are missing if you don't have like Soto. If you don't have Chantervals, you cannot get the spear. If you don't have Soto, you cannot get the dagger. So you're missing quite a lot of pieces that make, for example, Relic of the Claw comes also from Chantervals. So you're missing quite a lot of pieces to make Chronomancer an absolutely god tier pick. But if you like Chronomancer and you know you will in the future maybe purchase an expansion, then I think, yes, you're right. Chronomancer is potentially an even better pick than Reaper. But like I said earlier, I think it requires a lot of stuff to set up so that you, for example, you cannot play support Chronomancer. That's just not working. Without the rifle, you're missing like 90% of your healing. That's just not good enough. Therefore, I would say it depends a bit what's your long-term goal, so to say. If you are acquiring the expansions at some point anyway, sure, go for Chronomancer. If you don't know yet, and if you just want to have some fun right now and a safe time, probably Reaper is the better choice. So, quick question. You're actually German? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Which legendary armor is the easiest to make? It depends what you define as easiest. I think open world one is the easiest because you don't have any like skill required. But all of them are somewhat easy nowadays. It's just patience to stick with it. And all of them are somewhat time-gated to some extent. Yeah, I think you should not be scared to try Engineer if you like the class design, because Engineer, in my opinion, is like a lot of people are scared, someone similar to Elementalist, and think, oh, Engineer has the kids, I have to use all of those buttons, it's very scary. But you can slowly go in there. You know, you don't have to learn like a 5-kit Engie in the beginning. You know, you can do that, but you don't need to. And that's something that is like, you have to understand, Guild Wars is not a build, as other MMOs, you don't have to play the build perfectly when you start out, you know. That's just unrealistic, and you will be fine. You will be fine just playing a build and hopefully improving it at some point, yeah. Good point there. A martial artist class would be cool. Oh yes, some kind of like fist fighter or something. We don't have that. That is true. That would be very interesting. I don't know how to implement that though, because Guild Wars 2 doesn't have any like real... How would you implement that? What weapons would you use to get your weapon strength, to get your combos and stuff? Yes, you could make kits, but what weapons would you use in the beginning? Always the same one or a different one? Or how would that work? I don't know. It is interesting as a design concept, but I think it's somewhat like far-fetched, I would say. I don't see it, to be honest, but maybe you have some crazy idea and Arena and it listens with the next expansion. Who knows? Since you said something about tool belt and being good now, so you made a video and kind of glanced over the amalgam trade changes. If you have to build a solo amalgam build now, is it first power or condi? Oh, I would probably go still for solo builds with Celestial. Amalgam is just perfect for Celestial stats, like absolutely god tier. You make use out of every single stat. So I think even now, after the trade changes, I would still go for a condi build. Yes, I know it's always the same Celestial that's boring and stuff, but I personally think it's just really good. I think it's really good. Please give me stability, please. No, stability. My first class in 2012 was Engineer. Just take it slow, level and test out your skills as you unlock them. Will go far. Yeah, I agree. Just take it slowly and you will get there. You will get there. That was like a rather like sad whisper of Chomic, I have to be honest. Rather sad, but it's okay. We managed. It's just always sad if I cannot do my rotation. That's okay. I intend to play on the long term. Next discount session I will buy all expansions, so I guess I stick with Chrono. Yes, that is a smart choice then. Very good. And we probably have a discount coming up somewhat soon. I would expect it's quite likely that we get a discount very soon, because first of all we get a new quarterly patch, that's always quite exciting, and then we get hopefully also some kind of new Lunar New Year event type of hype up, and of course the quick play, everything is coming all at once, and then it's been a while since the last big change like to sale stuff, so I would expect we get a sale very soon. At least that's my prediction there. So another stack of those. I don't know what to do with them, but it's okay. Fist weapon could be the F1 mechanic, like a Holoforge? I guess, yeah. But how would that function? Like, would that be the main kit all the time? Or would you have also like weapons that you use, but would you like only have like 2 or 3 weapons because you could have always the forge. I think that is very interesting to talk about, but I think it's so far from what they actually invented with those new elite specs, because not a lot of them actually get changes like that, where you like get a big like rework of the class mechanic, like for example Bladezone, where you like lose one like complete weapon set. It's just something added on top. I don't know if a new elite, like a complete new class, seems reasonable. Like for me, I feel like it seems a bit far-fetched, but who knows, you know, we can talk about it, you know, you never know. So we wanted to do the Starlit meta. Yes, let's play Paragon, that's more interesting. Just build a solo catalyst, your build video. Best fun I've had in ages. Yeah, it's awesome. Like, to be honest, it's one of the coolest. I don't know, it's just so good. It's so good. Like, Catalyst, Immortal Catalyst solo, it's almost unbeatable. It really is. It's so strong. I don't see any solo build that tanky. Like, it's so good. It really is. I'm all for that, but what trait would you use? Would you change into now? Since I'm not sure you would change that much. So I think I would still use the same trait setup, because there is not, they made some reworks to how those things work, but the trait setup, I can also showcase that, to be honest. Let me switch to my engineer and we can showcase this. But yeah, I don't think that is like, this is like you need to swap a lot. I don't think so. Let's do the meta here. And what? That's not where I wanted to go, but okay. There we go. That's where I wanted to go. Don't forget to hydrate. Yes, I will quickly showcase this and then we can hydrate. So the changes, you know, we have chemical rounds. It's still awesome. You know, you could, what else would you go? You could go for mites, but you already don't have the big mite problem. So this is a change. Yeah, more crit chance, I guess, but more condition damage. I don't know. That just seems better on a Celestial build. Then thermal vision, more expertise and more condition damage. Just really good. The other traits, I don't know, not good enough. And then you have incinerate power. You know, so yes, there is the change with sharpshooter, there is the change with heavy metal, but those two are like not good enough to make incendiary power worse. I think incendiary power is already like a good change. This is a stealth nerf to engineer with their modified ammunition, but like I said, I feel like they shuffled around some stuff, but effectively it didn't change that much for engineer. You know, I still take the same traits because they are still good enough or good. And I wouldn't swap that much, to be honest. I would only swap those 3 traits depending on what you need. If you need protection, go for that one. If you need more healing, go for that one. If you need more conic lenses, go for that one. Which is really fun. I like this concept, but these are more like rigid and somewhat set in stone. I don't see a world where you swap those around. Yeah, sadly, even though they are something new, doesn't make them good, sadly. Yeah. Welcome, Shai. Welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you for the raid. Really appreciate it, by the way. Didn't see it earlier. Was just so much excited to talk about stuff. Yeah. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for raiding. Hope you had a nice stream. And yeah, if you have any comments or questions and some debates that we have to talk about, I'm all up for it. Let's set this up and we can do it. Yes, I have 70 characters. You know, I'm just like enjoying the game and the different elite specs way too much. Yes. For crafting professions, what do you recommend? It depends a bit what your goal is. If you, in the end, you will probably, if you play the game long term, you will probably want to get all of them. But starting out as a new player, probably it's better to get something like, if you're medium armor class, Huntsman and Leatherworker, to get the weapons and medium armor, if you wanted to craft something like that. But it depends a bit what you want to do. If you want to go to legendaries in the future, then you need maybe others. In the end, to 400 leveling is not that hard anyway. And if you want to craft legendaries in the future, you have to do it nonetheless at some point. But for most players, I would say the crafting in Guild Wars 2 is not extremely important. Sadly, it's not something that I would say is like, yeah, that's the sad part. Like, crafting in Guild Wars 2 is just a little bit outdated. It's not something that I would say is like, you need to unlock crafting to get something done. It's not just legendaries, that's it. So let's do it. Very good. Hydration, that's what we needed. So, I feel like physical skills on Daredevil deserve a buff. They are not very exciting in general, especially the lead. I think we have a lot of Heart of Thorns specs, with the exception of Chronomancer, that, or not only Heart of Thorns, it's also Path of Fire to some extent, that some of the elite specs are decent, but the utility skills are quite bad. Looking at Weaver, looking at Daredevil, looking at, what do we have as well? To some extent Mirage even, stuff like that. They are just like, they are thematically fitting, but they are not on a power level that the current game has. So a lot of times you have a spec that is evolved around dodging, like Daredevil. But now we got the power creep to everything else, so that a skill that just gives you endurance is not good enough anymore. So a lot of times I feel like just making the numbers higher would be a solution, but that would be a boring one, especially to the Daredevil ones. I think making them more interesting, giving them a unique move, unique mechanic, I would really like that. But I'm not sure if they are interested in that, because it's an old elite spec. You see that with the new specs, you see that with the spears. They are more interested to make new stuff that is really crazy good, so that players are interested to get the new content, rather than making something old crazy good, because either a lot of players have that, or it's old content, like Heart of Thorns, 10 years old, so players might not be as interested to buy an expansion just for this one spec that got buffed, because it's just delivering you a lot of old content. I don't know. I hope for buffs to Daredevil and Weaver and like the other specs that I mentioned earlier that make them more interesting, but I think we have to take it slowly. I don't see that in the future that we get that so crazy buffs to all of them all at once. Maybe slowly, but I don't know. I'm not sure if they are that interested, sadly. Yeah, that's good. Good to hear, yeah. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. Did they nerf support Scrapper? No. So, I mean, they somewhat nerfed it. That is true. In World vs. World, support Scrapper got nerfed. But support Scrapper was never a meta pick nowadays anyway. Scrapper was in World vs. World as a Zerg DPS. That's what it was played. It was not really played for the support. For the support, you had Luminary, Druids, even like Catalysts and stuff like that. But you didn't really use Scrapper that much anymore. It was more for the DPS. And in PvE, Scrapper is still good and got somewhat of a buff nerf. It got nerfed with the purified, Purity of Purpose change. But in terms of the, I don't know. I think Heal Scrapper is still good in PvE. It's not like Giga S tier broken, but it's still a good healer with the super speed and stuff. So I don't know. I wouldn't say it's nerfed. I would not say that. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. I will change that Mesa. I will change that Major Easy. I will change it. Sorry for that. Not my intent, of course. Not my intent. On Amalgam, I have switched explosions with tools 1-to-1. Pretty amazed. I could scrap explosions in a build that's still solo, really. Yes. So this is, if you change explosives for tools, you get a very tanky version of this build. I personally really like explosives because it gives you still a lot of healing, while also giving you some power damage buffs, which is, in my opinion, in open world, really nice, because a lot of times power is killing the mobs faster than condition. Makes sense, that's how it's designed. So if you don't fight like crazy tough bounties and stuff, it's better to have a bit more straight up power damage than having a bit more dodge chance. That is for me, but if you can survive with it, I personally, or can't survive with the explosive one, go for tools and you still have a crazy good damage build. It's not like you're losing like insane amount of damage by not blowing explosives. It's just my preferred setup here. Is Warrior getting nerfed other than Staff? Actually not. I think like Warrior is something that is like people in PvE thought like Warrior changes are mostly buffs. It's really just like the bullet catcher change that is not there anymore. That is something that is a nerf. But a lot of times in PvE that was not really necessary. So Warrior overall got buffed in PvE. In competitive modes, I would say Warrior with the block nerf to Staff, that hits hard. That really hits. I think it's still a decent build that you can play. in all game modes, or elite spec, whatever you want to play with stuff. But it's definitely not as defensive anymore. It's more like a support, like a real support weapon, not defensive by nature. So yeah, we will have to see how the meta turns out, but I think Warrior did not nearly need a nerf, to be honest. But I guess that's for the devs to decide. Yeah. Top spec for solo hard bosses champions, and top for solo world versus world roaming, now from your point of view. So I think for soloing, I think like we have Amalgam, we have Catalyst, and we have Untamed, and we have Reaper, and we have Ritualist. So Ritualist didn't get that many nerfs, so I think like if you can survive, Ritualist is the best one. It has the highest damage output and is really, really good in like all around the kit. If you cannot survive with the Ritualist because it's the squishiest of those that I mentioned, I think all of them are somewhat close. I think the most tanky one is still the Immortal Catalyst, because it just is so tanky. It really has so much healing output. But all of the ones that I just said are really good. Like, it's really hard to pin down, because sometimes you need more reflex, sometimes you need more CC, and all of them have strengths and weaknesses. So it depends a bit what you want to aim for. I don't know. Hard to say what's the absolute best. And for World vs. World solo roaming, I don't know. I feel like personally Amalgam is extremely strong. I think Convert is really strong. And it also depends a bit what you like the most. So if some people really like, for example, how is it called? Playing a really bursty roamer, like for example Power Spear Mirage, that is completely fine. You can also play, for example, Power Spear Troubadour. That's also really strong for roaming. But if you like more tanky bruisery setup, then I would say probably like Amalgam, like Conduit, like Untamed for roaming. Those are probably the best picks right now. Yeah. So I have the settings turned to minimum, because I often in this map I often have the problem that I get like insanely bad like frames. I don't know why. So I have turned everything to the minimum to get decent amount of frames. I will turn it back up when we are gone to a different map. But for now, that's why your character looks so weird. Sorry for that. But I just really dislike having low frames. And this is also anyway really like bugged. I don't know why I can't see the bottom here. I guess I turned everything up, everything down, even the background environment. I was asking how long do I need to make Legendary Staff Spear last week, I think. I made it yesterday. Now I want to make the Oryx backpack. How long is it gonna take from Syrma? Ooh, that was a fast week then. That was impressive. Good job there. How long would you, the Oryx one? Probably a couple of days. It's quite expensive, like 3 to 4k gold, but it doesn't have a time like sink that much. You can farm that in a couple of days. So next week you have the Oryx. I will promise you. It's just a lot of gold. Yeah. Best thing I can do for gold on a daily basis as a casual player? Like logging in and doing Wizard's Vault daily is probably, for the absolute casual player, probably the best. It's insanely valuable to do the Wizard's Vault dailies and weeklies. It just gives a lot of value. So in which one am I? 3. Okay. I'm east. Okay. I guess I'm going east. But yeah, that is for me as a casual player, if you want to have the absolute best time, that is probably my recommendation there. If you only play a couple of minutes, like 10 minutes to like half an hour, that's probably what you should do. If you have more time, then probably doing daily fractals, if you want to get the most amount of gold and you'll enjoy fractals, is probably also an extremely good option. For me, at least, I feel like those would be my top picks. But of course, alt parking. I have a whole video where I summarize everything that I do, for example, for daily gold making. But it always heavily depends what kind of player you are. Do you play for half an hour a day? Do you play for 4 hours a day? That's completely different. There are some people that are casual but play 4 hours a day. So is that the casual? Who knows? Yeah, I think the projectile block is I don't know. I'm with you, Filthy. I think like having projectile blocks is like good and all, but a block was just so much better. I don't know. I feel like how can I say this? I personally don't see the reasoning that much behind the remove of the block. I really would like to have the block back if I would trade that. but maybe they will make me see it different in the future. Who knows? Who knows? That I think I have to check my GPU. I think it's like 3070 Super. I think something like that. So it's a mediocre GPU. It's not like crazy. Maybe this year I can finally get a new PC as well. We will see. We will see. Nothing crazy. But in Guild Wars 2, sadly the GPU it's not the limiting factor. The bottleneck for Guild Wars 2 frames is always the CPU, because it's a single core. Typically only the game runs on the CPU, so you need to have a really good single core performance to run the game really highly. Even if you have the most giga graphics card, that might not carry your frames. That's the sad truth. And even if you have the giga graphics card and a giga single core performance, that doesn't mean that you get 250 frames with the highest settings in an open world map. Sadly, at least if there are 50 to 100 players around you. That's just Guild Wars 2's engine is not perfectly optimized for that. Sadly. Yeah. Yes. How is Engineer after Firearms change in PvE? I would say still a very, very good, solid pick. It's not like... It didn't change that much, to be honest. Like, Firearms changes to me, good, but not like giga changing it changed some stuff around, but it's like nerf buff at the same time, so it's like didn't change that much. That's why I mentioned it earlier in the stream. I think changes that just are there for the sake of changes, it's not like my favorite choice. I would rather have changes that actually matter and less of them, so that new players are not too confused. Because the Firearms changes, I don't know, not a lot changed here that actually matters for Engineer, in PvE at least. I don't know, weird. Are you playing in Europe? Yes, I'm currently on Europe, and I want to actually now do a meta train here on stream, so that next time I do a meta train, I will do it on NA for my NA friends. Yes, so here I'm doing a meta train, not as the commander, so that I know which metas I want to do, and then next time I will do it on NA. So yes, I'm coming, for the better or for the worse for you. I'm coming to NA. I'm ready for it. I'm just learning the meta train, which ones I enjoy doing. So we will see. Makes sense. I have 3080, but still get lower FPS because my CPU is not the greatest. Yeah, I think Guild Wars 2, that's one of the biggest things for me. I'm sorry, this time it's me that brings it up, but it's one of the best things if we ever get another, I don't know, graphics update, another game from ArenaNet. I think the biggest upside for me is having a better just performance. So I don't think Guild Wars 2's performance is bad, but I would really like to have a PC that actually can also handle the settings and everything, even if there are somewhat like a lot of players around. Because right now, I always, if I go into PvP, I have to change my settings. If I go into World vs. World or Open World meta events, I have to change my settings. That is somewhat annoying. I really hope that they could just like increase the usefulness from my, I don't know, just settings, maybe have like game mode specific settings, or just make it so that the performance is generally better. All of that I would love, but I'm not sure if we will see that with Guild Wars 2. I don't know. How much RAM sticks are currently in your safety deposit? I like that question. I better not answer that, but it's a good question. It's a good question. That is true. That is true. GPU is irrelevant. I mean, for Guild Wars 2, that is definitely the case. Yeah, definitely the case. I had to buy a new PC. Have a 4070 Ti Super with 300, yeah, nice, 32 gigabytes RAM, i9, and I have to turn down the graphics in World versus World fight. Yeah, exactly. I think it's not your fault at all. You know, your PC is like monster. It's just like the game is not optimized, and you just cannot really do a lot of stuff with your hardware in that sense. I feel like there are some options with software, so I know some like software things that you can add to the game or to the background that improves your like general FPS, but you cannot make it 250 FPS with the highest settings in a World versus World fight. There will always be some struggle with the FPS. It's sad. It really is. But what can you do? You know, that's just... No, we have to burst. Just how it is. Happen to get my build of FB Marketplace for 600 full PC build. Ooh, it's not bad, not bad. I think it's the lack of optimization. Yeah, exactly. You know, the optimization, they did changes, and I think the changes, at least for me, were actually good, you know, with the DirectX 12 and that kind of stuff, the updates to the engine. It's actually, oh my god, 1 second. That was like the closest ever. Like, it was already at 0-0. You could here see the timer. That's crazy. But we did it. Okay, fine. But yeah, I agree. I think the optimization of Guild Wars 2 is horrible. I think the game, you can see now, I'm standing still, I have the settings turned on very low, and I have 75 FPS. So it's not like crazy bad, but for the settings that I have and not seeing even the ground here, it's quite bad. Maybe let's turn it a bit up again. What did I actually, did I disable some, like, maybe I have to teleport to get this, back. Because I really wanted to render the floor, you know, I want to see the floor, you know, it's like, what? Not seeing the floor is just like quite bad. Okay, it's still not seeing the floor. Good, I don't know. I think there might be a graphics glitch. Who knows? It's how it is. Yeah, there was a big blackout in Germany, in Berlin, actually. That is true, but it's now fixed. So I think that's good. The blackout. I was luckily not in this specific part, but yeah, that was quite scary. Yeah, for Germans having no power, that is something different for sure. Yeah, there's no avoiding when there's a billion gasoline triangles and frames. Exactly. I don't know. It feels like Guild Wars 2 is just not optimized, and I'm not sure if they can ever fix that. I just don't know if they will ever fix Guild Wars 2's like performance. That's why I say if they will ever do another game, I hope that this is not based on the same engine, that they just build it from scratch or make something different, like whatever they have to do, but make the performance better. That is my big hope. Absolutely. Every MMORPG is heavily bottlenecked by CPU. WoW as well. Large fights in WoW are even more unplayable than in Guild Wars 2. Yeah, I think WoW is also older. That's definitely something that you also have to say. But I think it's like, it's just sad that we don't have a crazy good new MMO that actually handles large-scale fights very well. I have to be honest, I don't know any games that handle large-scale fights really well in terms of FPS. Maybe that's just something we are limited by our technology at this point in time. But I don't know. I just hope we get this at some point. Just good FPS. I don't need giga good FPS, just something that is like watchable and you don't have to think it's a slideshow. But who knows? Maybe the future brings that. Who knows? Would you recommend fishing for gold farming right now? Fishing is decent. If you know how to do it, you can get 25 to 40 gold depending on how like lucky you are to some extent. But I would say on average you get like 30 gold, something around this per hour, which is a decent number. It's not like a absolutely top-end number, but you can do it 24/7. You can do it alone. That is definitely a good positive pro. So I would say if you like the relaxing vibes of fishing, 30 gold per hour, sure. I mean, there are way worse things to do. And doing it 24/7 is one of the rare things in terms of gold farms that are actually possible to do, like 24/7. So personally, yep, I think fishing is a good thing to recommend for new players. Yeah, floor not found, exactly. I mean, happens, you know, sometimes accept that, you know, it's the bottomless pit here. It's the bottomless pit. That's how it is. I didn't see Filthy. I didn't see it. I mean, maybe I'm interested in that. Who knows? I'm always on the lookout for new stuff to try. So we will see. We will see. Maybe I will try it. Haven't seen it though yet. I don't know how to judge it yet. So I'm flying with the whole party here. Very nice. Very good. Very impressive. Yes, I'm from Germany. Yes. Yeah, they are hiring currently Unreal Engine 5 developers, but I always mention that when that comes up, that is just what they are hiring. That doesn't mean that they develop a new game in Unreal Engine 5. It is likely, but not the only thing. They could hire people that have experience with Unreal Engine 5 and then build a new engine from scratch that is just similar to Unreal Engine 5. I think that is also possible. I don't know what they are doing. I don't know what is like happening in the background. I'm just saying that is a possibility. But yeah, good point. Guild Wars 2 will never be fixed. It's a modified Guild Wars 1 engine, but it's basically a fully instant game. The fact that Guild Wars 2 even runs at all with 100 plus people on the screen is a miracle already. Big kudos to the engineers. I agree. I think like having a like at this point 25-year-old engine that runs that smoothly with 100 players on the screen is actually quite good. You know, it's a good game for that reason. Well, not only for that reason, but one of the reasons. But of course, it's not like the best it could be. And that's why I think like a new game is the only way to fix something like that. You cannot, maybe a relaunch of Guild Wars 2, but I don't really see that as well. Some people are coping on Guild Wars 2.5 coming up in the next years, but I have no like data to support this. Like I didn't see anyone like mentioning anything of a relaunch of Guild Wars 2, making the engine new or whatever. And I think also like monetize, yeah, like the financial reasoning behind that. I don't see why this is something that ArenaNet is interested in. A new game is just way more lucrative. Like also like NCSoft would probably be way more interested in a new game from ArenaNet than having to relaunch Guild Wars 2. It's just my thing there. Nicest German I've ever saw. Yeah, I mean, I try to not be angry. I think it's very unhealthy to be an angry German, or in general be an angry person. So I really try to be like positive and improve while not like flaming anybody or something. I think we are all playing a video game, or at least watching someone play a video game. We don't need any like toxicity or something. We have enough toxicity in the whole real life. So having that in a game is not necessary at all and is even worse, I would say. Yeah. Is it possible to get 100 pristine fractal relics in a day or two? So you can get like, you can get, I think like 30 or something. And then if you do it right before reset, you can get like 60. So reset and then do it after that. So you can get like 60 or something in 24 hours. And then if you do the fractal like thing here, you get like some 5 here and then another 10 and then you get another 15. So you get like 30. So you I think it's barely not possible to get 100 in 24 hours, but you can get to 90 or something like that, or like 80 or something in this part. So it's like you can get somewhat close, but it's not possible to reach 100 normally. But like 2 days or 48 hours or something like that, then you have it. So just be a bit patient, you will get there. If you want to get your stuff today, that's not possible, sadly. Yeah, so there are some time gates when it comes to fractal legendaries and stuff like that, or upgrading your fractal god level or something. But I think that's okay. It's not like there are way worse time gates in this game than the fractal time gates, in my opinion. Can you try saying some lines with lower voice tone? Because I wanted to check something. Okay, I can try. I'm really like, it's not healthy for me to speak like that, but who knows? Maybe that's my new gamer voice. Who knows? Okay, maybe I should stop. It's not healthy and not really like my normal voice. Yeah. Scaring the viewers. I'm sorry, not my intent. Not my intent. Yeah. I would say personally, I think we have a very decent, to be honest, Guild Wars 2's community is a very nice community. I wouldn't say it's the nicest community I've ever met, but like 99% of the people are nice. And I think you should always embrace that. And I really try to be a nice person of this community as well. And even though I probably am more knowledgeable in Guild Wars 2 than over 90% of the player base, I don't flame people that don't know something that I do. I just try to teach them. If they want to get taught, oftentimes they don't, so I just leave them be. But I don't see a reason to be toxic or anything. I feel like that is like the most unhealthy thing that you can do. So I really try to avoid that at all costs. You know, sometimes I play PvP. I get really annoyed because we lost, not necessarily because of someone else's faults, but more of my own errors in the match. So I just quit the game for a couple of hours, maybe come back tomorrow, and the world looks better. I don't want to make anybody else's game experience worse because I have a bad day or I just am not feeling happy about something. You know, that is my mindset. I know not everybody shares that. That's how it is. But at least I can be a positive influence on the game's community and experience for other players. Yep, that's my mindset there. It's actually for Conflux. I'm a World vs. World player, kind of hate Fractals. I need those relics to buy the ring, and I kind of feel bad spending 350 skirmish tickets on it. Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, it's not... Then it's like, I can understand that, but you need some patience there as well. It's not something that you can get like instantly, sadly. It's just how it's balanced, yeah. But it's definitely better than getting 350 tickets. That takes way longer. That is true. That is true. Is there a way possible to get Wizard's Infinite Mist Omni Potion? Is it not in the Wizard's Vault? So it was in the Wizard's Vault, but it is a thing that was seasonal, limited. So that was, I think, September 2025. So it's like now 4 months ago or something, where they had that in the Wizard's Vault. And that was really valuable. I think at this point you cannot get it anymore. I'm pretty sure it's a one-time thing, as far as I know. I think you cannot get it right now. You have to get the normal version, which costs like way more of the fractal relics again, and all the stuff that you need from fractals. So definitely a bit of a bummer if you missed it, but not too bad. Not too bad. You will get there in the end as well. Just needs longer. Sorry to say that. Sound a little bit like Arnie. I mean, that is a compliment, you know. I would see that as a compliment, Filthy. I really appreciate your video, helping me since the start. Now I'm at 400 hours in and have my first PvP legendary chest piece. Perfect, you know, that's what we want to see. More people engaging with content to get legendaries and stay in the game. Perfect, yeah. Glad to help, glad to help. Was maining Condi Conduit, 50% PvE DPS nerf, feels bad. Yeah, that is definitely, like Condi Conduit, if you played that and only played that, that is feeling bad. But it's not like, it's not unplayable, you know, it's still a crazy good DPS build. It's just not as broken anymore. I would say if you wait for the Snowcrows benchmark and stuff, you will see it's actually surprisingly high numbers still. I think it's not as bad as people make it out to be. You just have to maybe adjust the rotation a bit or something like that. But it's definitely a big hit. I think power is definitely the way to go in most fights now. Which is okay, will probably also get nerfed in the future at some point. If you could be in charge of the balance of one class, what class would you choose? Probably Mesmer, because I really like Mesmer. Mesmer's design and the elite specs. But I don't want to be in charge of the balance, to be honest. I feel like you can never please the player base. I think there are always people that complain about the balance. Even if you make like a balance that caters to 99% of the people, the 1% would be shouting so loud that you will also feel like you did a very bad job. It's like, I don't want to be in this in this job, to be honest. I think like balancing in games, especially in online games, it feels somewhat painful, I would say. You cannot please everybody. Got a few normal versions, but they don't work. Yeah. Same, I'm already on 1,300 hours and I've been watching your videos since I started. Helped me out a lot. Perfect. Glad to hear that. Yeah, more to come, and hopefully you will get even better at the game, or maybe you teach me something. Who knows? Yeah, exactly. 52k is still broken. You know, it's like, yeah, sure, you lost 7k DPS, but that is still a crazy good number. It's so insane. Like they are now okay with having 50k DPS builds apparently, or maybe they just forgot. I have no clue, but yeah, it's still really high. So you see the numbers that people put here in chat, it's crazy. It's just like, yeah, it got nerfed a bit, but it's not like a 50% damage nerf. Far from it, to be honest. It's really good still. Yeah. Are you playing solo Amagal? Yeah, I'm playing like, wait, I'm playing the Alacrity version here. Like, I share Alacrity with my allies and some boons. So it's like more of a, I don't know, a hybrid build. Just didn't have any perfect DPS build setup. It's fine. You know, if you share boons and have some DPS with it, it's fine. Now we can go to a different map anyway and different character as well. Are our classes now similar DPS? I mean, you have to wait for all the benchmarks to settle. But to be honest, like the benchmarks are all between, like, from DPS builds in PvE, it's all between 41k to 55k, something in this regime, which is, in my opinion, a very large span of DPS. But they all have their advantages and disadvantages, so I guess you could argue it's okay, but it's not perfect. I would say they are definitely not at the similar level yet. There needs to be a bit more balance in that regard, if you looked at, yeah. Yes, new tier list, yeah, I mean, I'm having, of course, all the tier lists queued up, so don't worry, more tier lists to come. I just cannot push out all of them all at once, so don't worry, yes. Can't please everybody, just be more like Solar and do whatever the hell you want. Yeah, I guess that is also a way to do it, you know, be some kind of like a developer that just has like not an interest to please anybody in the player base. That is also possible. I'm not saying that was the case here, just saying it felt like it a bit. And I personally would say, so what do we do next? We have here Meta Train. 1 second, and I will finish the thought. What are we doing next? We are doing Pinata. Okay, so let's swapping to a build to play Pinata. We will see what can we do. What can we do? I guess we will do some Evoker. But yeah, I was saying that like I think almost everybody is like to some extent. Ooh, we can loot it again. That's very interesting. No, you can't load it again. Okay. Next up, Pinata. Very good. There we go. I think like developers always try to make changes that are good for the game. They not always succeed. And that is okay. You don't have to always succeed. But at least you have to try to get in a better direction. Yeah. Join map. There we go. We are on the correct map already. Perfect. Yeah. I figured out that Bladezone with the new general 5-second weapon swap is not working together with the Relic of the Warrior in PvP. Can't play a broken build yet. That's sad, actually. I really like synergies like that. With the baseline 5-second weapon swap and then having the Warrior Relic, that is really cool. I think that's such a cool build crafting idea. But it's sad that it's not working. And to be honest, I don't even know how to make a lot of use out of that. Because oftentimes I feel like changes like that are good, but is it really like something that you would say, oh my god, this is a change that like changes all my builds and can come up with a crazy change? I feel like a weapon swap is good, but there are not that many things that interact with a weapon swap in a way that you can abuse it. So for example, sigil cooldowns are still 9 seconds. So you cannot get lower or multiple sigils to proc with the same weapon swap. So you have to use, for example, 4 different sigils, 2 on the one hand and 2 on the other hand to proc them again. But that's a little bit weird. And again, Bladezone cannot make use out of that. So I don't know. I feel like that's not perfect either way. I like those changes with the fast hands, but I am not sure if like a lot of warrior builds really like have crazy like where you say like, oh my god, this build is now S tier before it was D tier. I don't see it. I really don't. Yeah. My PC died because of the power surge. Tried to play Guild Wars 2 on my old laptop, 13 FPS on lowest possible options and 1 second input lag. Oh, I feel you. I tried it once on my laptop as well. Didn't work out that well, I have to say. So yeah, definitely not the best. Not the best thing to run on a like mediocre laptop. Or mediocre PC. I can definitely see that. So I guess you have to get a new one if you want to play that. Yeah, again. Or I also tried it before, not like having any, how can I say, sponsorship or something, but I tried it before. It was with GeForce Now, and it actually worked decently well with Guild Wars. Like, it worked decently well. I'm not sure if I would run it all the time, but as a short-term, I don't know, alternative or solution, can work. It's working in PvE in World vs. World, so it's a bug, I guess. Yeah, I guess if it's not working in PvP, it's a bug. Like, pretty much confirmed. If everywhere else it's working, then it's like almost guaranteed to be a bug. And then I really like that build crafting. I'm not sure what kind of build you're going for in PvP with a Bladezone that is like really good, but that sounds fun. That sounds fun. I like those like theory crafting. Warrior changes boosted Spellbreaker a lot in competitive, in my opinion. I think a lot of the Warrior likes to have like fast hands without having discipline. I think that's a big buff. I agree with you, Filthy. But I'm not sure if like Warrior is now suddenly meta in all game modes just because of this change. I still think Warrior has issues that were not resolved with this, at least in my opinion. which is okay, you know, you cannot expect to have everything perfectly resolved just with one balance patch. But I'm just saying, it's not perfect yet for Warrior. Yeah, I think the Ritualist, like, oh my god. I was really expecting some Ritualist nerfs, but we didn't really get any changes to Ritualist and Evoker. Those two classes are like untouched almost. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. You know, I just recently posted the solo build that Nomixia used to solo Bone Skinner. What? You know, you can solo Bone Skinner and have like, I don't know, 35k DPS as a solo build, and they say, oh, that's the new meta, we just leave it like that? I'm so surprised. You know, I'm not saying it's bad. I like that Ritualist is a good spec, but that's crazy to me. That's like really insane. Like just saying, yep, that's people like Ritualist, so let's leave it like that. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, what's your favorite build for PvE? Like I said earlier, I swap around all the time. I don't really have one build that I play all the time, or that I think is the best or the most fun build. I switch around all the time. So sometimes I like to play Mesmer. Then I get bored of it, and then I play Guardian. Then I play Warrior. I switch around. So I don't have a single one that I would pick out and say this is my favorite build that I play all the time. If you would have to pin me down to a specific like one that I use really that I think is like the best ever, it's probably Chronomancer. I think Chronomancer is for me just like nostalgia, and I think it's just a good class design. It's a fun concept. It's also like really flexible. I like this. Like agency, you can play full DPS, you can play a support, you can play almost anything. So I think that's good. But like I said, I think I would probably quit the game if I played a single class forever now. At least that's my take. I want to play multi-class and different specs, different builds, yeah. It's funny they buffed Greatsword and Ranger. Yeah, they made this like one trait baseline, which is like good. I think Greatsword was like needing some buffs, but I'm not sure if like Ranger Greatsword is like in a spot now where you would say, okay, that's good, we take that now in PvE. It seems more like a competitive mode weapon, and even there it's not like perfect. So I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like they should like think about weapon reworks instead of just buffing numbers. That's my, like I mentioned in a recent video of mine, I think Ranger Greatsword is one of the best contenders for complete or a small rework at least. To be honest, everything should be nerfed. 50k DPS is crazy. I would agree. But I think that is like for new players that just started the game, they might be really frustrated if they can't clear Veil Guardian anymore. If they just had, for example, like a condition conduit and they carried the fight because that was so much DPS, and now you get like only half of the DPS. I don't know. I feel like I see both sides. I personally would say a DPS decrease would probably be healthy for the PvE game in general. Yeah, I would agree. But for most players or casual players, that can also be somewhat bad. They wouldn't maybe not enjoy the game anymore if they would not be able to clear content that they could be clearing before. Who knows? I don't know. I would not like to make this decision. Exactly. Power Chrono 47k DPS? Yeah, I was hoping for something like that, because Power Chrono is really like, was overshadowed a lot in the past few years, but now it's back. Yeah. Yeah. Basically, confirmation for Guild Wars 3 as far as I read it. Mentions Guild Wars 2 narrative, Unreal Engine 5, and 2 years MMO experience. That sounds like crazy. If you know, the question is, do you think that, you know, we already had the, so to say, the indirect confirmation that it's quite likely that they are working on something that's within the franchise and that it's somewhat like realistic, that it is coming somewhat at some point. But do you think because of this now way more aggressive posting and you see a bit more, I don't know, mentioning of it indirectly, do you think it's likely that they will announce it at some point in the future? Or do you see it's like it's still years away and they will announce it like in 4 years? Who knows? I'm really interested to see what you have to say here in chat, you know. Power Soul Beast at 11k and don't know how to improve. Go to Snowcross and check out the like rotation there. And go to the Golem and just try to train on the Golem. That is like the biggest thing that I can provide as feedback and tips. Go to the Golem, try to just stick and try to really understand the rotation, get the loop down, and you will thank me later. Just be patient for a bit, try a bit, and you will get there. You will get to this like decent number. You don't have to reach 100%, but everything above 80% is already really good. That's my tip there. Welcome. Can you recommend a Thief build for World vs. World roaming? I think Thief is always a rather challenging spec. You can play a Spectre. I think Spectre with Celestial or something like that is actually quite good. If you like more of a power setup where you are squishy but also deal a lot of damage, I would recommend like Daredevil. Those two are my preferred Thief picks. But I think Thief is always a bit punishing. You have to just slowly improve and you will get better. It's not something that you can like, and then you have it. It takes a while, yeah. So I will try to update the tier lists that are actually affected. A lot of the tier lists, for example, the PvP tier list, or for example, the PvE DPS tier list, they will not change. This is not a balance patch that changed like so much in terms of like the output. I might make some comments, for example, that Power Chronomancer is now a really good pick, but that's not really justifying a whole new tier list. But if there are changes that are drastically affecting the meta, I will definitely make a whole new tier list. Yes. Sadly, Greatsword is not that good yet. Yeah, I agree. I think Greatsword is just like a weapon that is barely like not useful because it just doesn't have the utility to carry it, and the damage is also not there yet. If you had just a nudge more of both, then it would be actually decent on Ranger. I agree. Okay, we will check the link out. Give me a second. You have to be careful. I might miss the pinata if I read it now, so I will read it after the pinata here. I did that so often that I thought, it's just a couple of minutes left. I can read something or can do something, and I come back and I think, why is everyone gone? And then it's like, oh, I missed the pinata. I waited 15 minutes for that, and then I like missed the only 10 seconds that are important. So I will read this after that. Yes. If you are at 11k, you probably don't have condis on Golem or boons on you. Yeah, I think it's really important that you go to the console, activate the boons on you. You can activate all of them. That's actually now doable. And in most cases, you can also activate all conditions. Some classes, like Curses, Necromancer or something, they get benefits from having condis on the boss. So you have to activate it to the number that is actually realistic. But in general, just activate all the conditions and all the wounds and you will see the number increase, and you can then go from there and try to get the benchmark. Yes. Or at least get somewhere close. I'm grinding to get my sky scale, but it takes so long to level the flight training. Yeah, just be patient. You know, it doesn't... Don't be in a rush, you know, you will get there. It's not like I have to do anything now at the maximum mastery level, you know. It's just like take the journey as a nice experience and not rush too much, because you will get there in the end anyway. Rival Data just pew-pews people. Yeah, I think Rival Data is underrated, but I would not recommend it for new players, because you also have to understand matchups. You know, it's not something that you can say, oh, I just pew-pew everybody. I think Rival Data looks easy on paper, but to play it in like a real-world scenario, I think Rival Data is actually harder, because you can get engaged on by luminaries, by mirages or whatever, and get one shot. So you really have to understand how to play it. But if you like this playstyle with a rifle and snipe enemies from range, Sure, go for it. There we go. Let's see. You know, I'm always saying this. If I do a meta train and if I get an infusion, I will give it away. It doesn't matter what kind of infusion it is. I will give it away. Yeah. So be ready for it. That the infusion will not drop, but I'm ready. I'm ready. If it would drop, I would give it away. So there's that. It has been said. I did my thing. What set of legendaries would you suggest for Power Soul Beast? Like a hammer is really good for Power Soul Beast. What else is good? Like an axe is always good as a Soul Beast. Those two are probably my best weapons if you really wanted to go for a weapon. Yeah. Where does Evoker stand now in World vs. World? It's a decent healer, it's a decent DPS, it's a decent roamer. It's not like absolute meta pick, but it's a decent one. So I think Evoker is in a healthy spot, like somewhere around A tier in all these parts in World vs. World. Yeah. exactly. I think it's like the DPS creep, but also the feature creep of healers and stuff makes it so that a lot of times in Guild Wars 2, the really try-hard boss movements for the tank and stuff have now become normal, you know? So in a try-hard scenario, previously you did the mid-strat on Veil Guardian. So you didn't move the boss, you ignored like every single mechanic. But that was really hard only for try-hard people that could pull it off. And now the DPS, the power creep, the feature creep of healers and everything increased so much that Veil Guardian is like a choke, to be honest. Nowadays, it's really easy. Like I could go in, I play a healer, and I could have, for example, Snowdrop join me as a quick DPS or something, and we would carry 8 other people with us. I think that is like, it's not a big deal. It doesn't matter if you would be new to the game or not. That's how good classes are nowadays. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's something that is noticeable, and I'm not sure. For me personally, I don't like it, but maybe ArenaNet likes this, how it developed. Yeah, I mean that's I guess how the game evolves, I guess. Yeah. How bad is the Chrono nerf? I would say it's like a buff for DPS Chronomancer, and it's like a mediocre nerf to heal Chronomancer. It's still really good, but it's not like absolutely busted anymore. Yeah. I'm dealing with RSI and trying to avoid weapon swapping or high intensity rotations. What class spec would you recommend? Either Rifle Mechanist or all of my low intensity builds. So I have a full low intensity playlist on my YouTube channel. You can check them out. They are all designed for you. I personally would say Rifle Mechanist is probably the easiest out of them and the best performing one. Power Ritualist, Power Reaper, Power Harbinger overall, solo and World vs. World, PvP, Harbinger. Sorry, Harbinger is good if you like to try hard, but I think Ritualist, Power Ritualist is the best choice. Yeah. So if you are in this, you need to be in the same map to join the map. And if you want to join the map that is like currently already full, then you get a pop-up saying the current world is full. You can say yes, and you can go into a queue and wait until someone drops out here, because there is a limit of players that can be in a single map. But the queue system makes it so that if someone leaves or deceases, you can also join. So just wait a bit. What armor? I only have exotic ones for Soul Beast, so you would go Berserker armor for Soul Beast. Berserker, Power Soul Beast with like medium armor, yes. Which class do you think is the worst overall? I think Revenant. If you really think about all the elite specs, all the game modes, I think overall Revenant is not bad, but it's overall probably the worst class. If you just think about it. Renegade, Herald, and Vindicator are just mediocre, and only Conduit is a really giga good build. All the others are, yeah, decent, but not like crazy good. What's your favorite Chuck lane? I would say I like Nuhawk because it's like you have something more to do. You know, the others are just killing things. This one is a little bit, you have to jump and like think a bit. But now let's take a look at the thing, the job application here. So this is from the ArenaNet website. And it's like contract senior writer, narrative designer. So yeah, okay, they're looking for a lot of stuff. Let's go jump to the chase here and think what are they actually looking here. 5 years of experience as a professional writer. Okay. MMO RPGs, that's already good. Like AAA. Yes. Okay. Experience using Unreal Engine. Okay, maybe it's really developed in Unreal Engine. A lot of stuff here, yeah. And interesting. Like, thanks, Horton. Really appreciate Prime. Thanks for your support. And so what else do we have here? Like, I mean, it's always I'm always someone that I don't want to overinterpret things. You know, you can always read something and you can always say, that's what meant with this. You know, a good example is always like looking at some religious texts or something. That someone writes something and that is okay. You know, that's a text. But then you can ask 10 people and you can ask 10 different priests and they have a different interpretation of something. So I wouldn't overinterpret something here. But as Snowdrop points out, it's actually, it has some facts in here that are actually quite interesting. Yeah, quite interesting. And I don't know. I mean, senior writer, narrative designer with like try for assist in the creation and development of IP, story, and character arts. Okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, it sounds like interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. I have to look more into that, maybe make a video about the whole topic, because if that's really true, it's interesting to speculate about stuff. Yeah. Guild Wars 3 confirmed now? I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it's confirmed, but I would say it's not as much of speculation as we had in like previous years, yeah. As a main Revenant, I agree. You need to deal with things other classes don't. Also, Conduit nerf was bad. Yeah, I wouldn't say Conduit nerf was like unexpected, but I would agree that Revenant needs a little bit more help. I feel like Revenant right now is not like not in the best spot. Yeah. Glad you liked the new website. Glad you liked the new website, because I knew the spreadsheet was good, but it was not as consumer or viewer friendly as possible. So the website is now way better. Yes. And I will always try to improve. I have already like another ideas to improve and implement there. So just stay tuned. More to come. Day only has 24 hours. So I try my best. I will try my best. More to come. Fourth paragraph in the top section mentions editing Guild Wars narrative should be a big giveaway, and it also mentions Unreal Engine 5. Unreal Engine, yeah. I think that is, to me, that is like crazy. Like that they mention here that it is like, oh, it's crazy. You know, they mention like stuff that we didn't see that before. Yeah, exactly here. Like edits the narrative of Guild Wars, which is like, we don't have a Guild Wars game right now that is in Unreal Engine 5, you know, experience using Unreal Engine 5. So either we get Guild Wars 2 with an Unreal Engine upgrade, or we get a new game that is related to Guild Wars. I mean, pretty much like, I wouldn't say confirmed, but that is, yeah, looking like very likely at this point. But I don't want to speculate about stuff too much, because you can always interpret stuff, you know, you never know what they meant with stuff. Maybe they're working on Guild Wars 2 as a narrative designer while also working on another game, maybe 2 different games, who knows? But looks promising, Just joined a small guild and they're gonna teach me fractals, raids, and world versus world. I'm really excited. Oh man, that's good. Congrats. Yeah, I mean, guilds are, the name Guild Wars 2 suggests there are guilds in this game. And I have to say, for a new player, there is nothing, no tip in this game can provide you more value than joining a friendly community, joining a friendly guild. It really helps a lot. Like, you get a crazy amount of like nice players that can help you deal with stuff that you might be just like, it's too hard for you. You might be just want to learn something. All that good stuff, that is something that helps you just get better at the game and hopefully also have fun, you know? It's always about having fun while learning something, in my opinion, and a guild really helps you with that. So congrats there, and I can just recommend it to everybody, you know? Join a guild, find friendly people, a friendly community to play with, and even if it's just a single player that helps you in open world or with story or something, or getting into fractals, that is already a big W for you. It really is. Guild Wars 2 is really, as other MMOs, it's just really living from interaction, social interaction. You can play it easily solo, but you will probably have a way easier time understanding the game. Hopefully also having some more fun by playing with others. Yes, good point, good point. If you're editing the narrative of Guild Wars, then you probably aren't just porting 2 into Unreal Engine 5. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, this sounds like, to me, it's confirming like they are working on a third game that is like a real standalone game. I would be very surprised. What if they would make event like Cataclysm and WoW and World and Final Fantasy? I don't know. Maybe you're right, Filthy. They just make something drastic like that, but I don't see it. I don't see it. I think that's sometimes you have to use the most obvious solution. Thanks, Amak. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for the support. Thanks for the Prime. Hope you're enjoying the stream. But yeah, that's what I would expect, yeah. Would you rather have Guild Wars 3 a completely new game with fresh content, or revamped Guild Wars 2 made in Unreal Engine with more content? Think like CSGO and CS2. So I know a lot of players, new players specifically, or not like veterans like I, think like Guild Wars 2.5, how they call it, would be the better solution. But I personally think the best solution would be a completely new game that is also somewhat different, you know? Not saying it's like completely different, but I would say it should be different enough to justify keeping Guild Wars 2 around. Because investing a lot of resources into a new game would be horrible if you kill your old game at the same time. Why not make 3 games? Guild Wars 1, Guild Wars 2, Guild Wars 3, if whatever it's called, at the same time, you know? Why not put your basket, your eggs in 3 different baskets? You know, that is just way smarter to me. So I think it's quite, I would say it's likely, and I would also like it a bit more, to have a completely new game. Like a completely new game that helps me to enjoy the franchise again, from starting from scratch, having a goal, having some new things to learn. That's the biggest thing for me. I like the game, but I think in Guild Wars 2, I'm a little bit like a veteran that knows a lot and just doesn't have this learning experience anymore. So I think, why not, you know, why not give me just something new to try and grind and have some fun and learn, you know, all of that stuff. I don't know. That's just my opinion. You asked for it. That's what I mean, what I think. As a Dutch person, should I join a German guild? I'm having a really hard time finding Dutch or English guilds. I think English guilds should be probably more easy to find than German ones. But I guess, like, if you understand German and can speak it somewhat well, you could join a German guild as well, you know? I mean, why not? Not saying that's the best choice. I don't know. It depends on the guild, I guess. It depends on the guild. But if you can't find any other guild and you don't have a problem, I don't know. Then I guess it's okay. I guess it's okay. There we go. No Chuck. No Chuck. That's okay. So what's the next one? Mist and Monsters. Oh my god. Haven't done that like in like a year or something. Okay, let's do that one. Let's do that one next. So, I guess for veterans, a new game would be better. And on the other hand, I'm only approaching 1k hours, so I wouldn't be mad with a revamp. Yeah, exactly. I think new players would rather have a revamp. Old players, veterans, I mean, it's not true. Some people would like to keep their progress, but I think it would be a completely reset of all my legendaries. I think that would keep me playing the game instead of having everything unlocked all at once. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I know some veterans that have like crazy invested into some accounts want to keep their progress, but I think that's unrealistic. If they ever launch a new game, you would maybe get some skins, maybe a title like they did with Guild Wars 1, but keeping all your legendaries or something, it's unrealistic. Not gonna happen. So let's teleport again. Saving some money here, doing it that way. As a new player, after finishing 280, is it better to do the story first or better to farm PvP? I'm afraid to join Fractals and group PvE and even World vs. World to my bad gear. When I said stories, I mean expansions and Living World. So I think it depends on your playstyle, what you like. If you enjoy the story, sure, go for it. That's probably the easiest way to guide you through the expansions. If you don't care about the story or if you would rather do something else, I personally would say try out everything. Try out some PvP, try out some easy fractals. You know, you don't have to focus on one thing in Guild Wars 2. It's more like a sandbox. You can go there. If you don't like to play it this day, you go something else, somewhere else. You go, you know, that's the cool part about Guild Wars 2. If you play PvP and you like it, play PvP every day. If you don't like it, go and play a bit of fractals. If you don't like that, go to play like more story. I think give it everything a try. And in the long run, you will thank me because you will have visited everything early, so you can play everything that you want to do every single day. You know, oftentimes you have some daily gates, you have some nice progress. For example, Fractals gives you a good amount of gold if you do it the first time a day, and that is really nice. So if you start on day 100 in your journey, you will have missed 99 days. But if you did it every single day after level 10, like after day 10 or something, you will definitely notice a big gold income as well. So I personally would say try everything. Don't focus too hard on the story. But if you're a story enjoyer, sure, do the story in one go. If you really like it, that's also fine. So, yeah, man. North. Okay. That's what I would say. Yeah. Clean start, I agree. Yes, exactly. Okay, I mean, if you need a little bit of like German in a German guild is probably not a bad thing, but if they are all speaking only German, then maybe that might not be the smartest choice if you only speak a little bit of German. I think just be patient, maybe ask in Reddit or Discord or something, and you will also find some nice guilds there. At least in my opinion. Guild Wars 2 has a lot of guilds, you just have to wait and find the one that you actually are looking for. There's so much enjoyment for all types of players when a new game is launched. Exactly. I think it's for a new game, they can also gather a new audience. They can make some comeback for veterans that played Guild Wars 2 when it launched but didn't play in the last 10 years. Stuff like that is way more likely when you come out with a new game. You know, you don't want to make games that are like killing another game or make it so that it's so close to Guild Wars 2 that most players that play Guild Wars 2 will play it, but at the same time most players that didn't play Guild Wars 2 will not play Guild Wars 3 or however it's called either. So I personally think it's way smarter to make a game that is fresh, that doesn't have any thing to do with Guild Wars 2 other than the franchise, so that you actually have a completely new image, new player base, and hopefully also new population, more fun. That's my hope there. We will see. We will see. Maybe we get an announcement this year, maybe not. Maybe we'll have to wait a couple more years. Who knows? I'm just saying I'm looking forward to the future. I think ArenaNet knows what they are doing, at least when it comes to creating new games. I think there are not that many game studios out there that are actually successfully making a second game after having a really good MMO already. So Guild Wars 2 ArenaNet knows what they are doing, I would say. Is Volatile Magic Cash still good? Yes, it is. It is. If you have a lot of Volatile Magic, just go and turn it into trophy shipments. Yeah, this Volatile Magic, just turn it into trophy shipments and you will get a decent amount of gold. That's a very good way. I would say that's the safest way without too much RNG in there. I have mixed feelings about the new game. I just recently bought all the expansions and playing through them at the moment, but I dislike the Zerg in Guild Wars 2. If they make Guild Wars 3, I hope they get rid of it. I would say if you bought all the expansions now and you like the game, then I think no worries. Yeah, I really think Guild Wars 3, if it will ever come out, is still years from being published. So you have still years of content to do without having the fear that Guild Wars 2 will shut down. I highly believe that even if Guild Wars 3 will ever come out, that Guild Wars 2 will shut down. I think Guild Wars 2 will run for the next 10-15 years. So, and will even get content, I would suspect. Maybe not as much as we get like with Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire, but we are already there. So I personally think there's so much content in this game, it's quite likely that you will just can play the game for another decade. Just keep that in mind. Exactly. It's just a job posting. I mean, the card game is confirmed, but it's not done by ArenaNet. You know, the card game is published by NCSoft and developed by them, so ArenaNet doesn't have to do anything with them. If they make Guild Wars 3, they should make it as different from Guild Wars 2 as they did with Guild Wars 2 from Guild Wars 1. Yes, I agree. 3 different, completely different games would be the best way to do it, in my opinion, the smartest way. I hope it's not a mobile game. I think we didn't see any mobile mentions, so it's a console game and a PC game as far as the job postings say it, but it's not a mobile game. To be fair, I would take a new Guild Wars, but they need to keep the unique mechanics. Yeah, I think if they keep the good things of Guild Wars 2, while also keeping like some fresh things that some interesting ideas. Oh, I can't see the boss. That's a little bit. That's not that good. Maybe I have to increase the settings, I guess. Not good, not good. You know, you should see what you're fighting. Not gonna work. I think I have to maybe restart the game. We had that earlier, that I could not see the floor. Not seeing the boss here is also not the healthiest thing. So maybe I have to restart the game after this. Not perfect, not perfect. I mean, fighting an invisible boss, that's the next level challenge, to be honest. Yeah, it's glitch. It's just today, to be honest. It's just today, but I don't know what's happening today. Maybe there is some glitch with Arc or something. I have no clue. It's fine for now, you know. I can damage the boss and can evade the attacks, I guess. But I have to restart after this for sure. That's just how it goes, I guess. Sometimes you have some glitches. Guild Wars 3 will be a loot shooter? I don't know. Who knows, you know? You never know. It could be some Asura technology involved there. And they are a loot shooter in Guild Wars universe. Who knows? You know, you never know. ArenaNet is a crazy company when it comes to that in a good way. I doubt it, to be honest. I think it looks more like an action combat, somewhat more of a, yeah, how can I say, RPG style, open world, somewhat in that direction. But who knows? Who knows? We have no confirmation. So if you're here in chat and a new player and listening, we have no confirmation. This is just speculation from the job postings they have. Nothing more, nothing less. And it should make Guild Wars 3, and it should be Guild Wars 1 plus Guild Wars 2 with all new engine and all the things from previous games and new stuff to appeal to newer players. Then they can shut down both Guild Wars games. I think that the first part that you're saying is probably correct. You should try to appeal to more new players and stuff like that. But at the same time, I personally think it would be a mistake to shut down Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2. You should not necessarily develop as much content for them as you do right now, in my opinion. But you should not make it so that the game is completely dead. I think that is a big mistake because there might always be people that enjoy the old game, even if there's a new one out. And I think that's probably that's what they should do, at least in my opinion. It might not be like a game developer's or marketing opinion, but in my opinion, that seems like to be the most reasonable thing to do. I don't know. It's really annoying with not seeing everything. Really annoying, to be honest. Seeing half of the things. Exactly. Just speculation. Exactly. Pretty sure you often ask this question. I'm sorry, I never heard your opinion. Do you think Guild Wars 3 will be released next year? I'm pretty sure it will not be released next year. I would be very, very surprised if it would be released next year. So for me, the time scale is something like they will maybe announce it this year, maybe next year, if they actually like want to push it through. And then we probably maybe get a beta in 2027, and then it might release earliest 2028. That is my prediction. I don't see it releasing anytime earlier than that, and even 2028 is already a very, very like coped up, like say, prediction. I think like 2029 or even 2030 is way more realistic. Like I think a big MMO, what it seems to be, to develop that one, that is years. And they started in 2021 as far as I know. So yeah, I think it's like way more realistic to expect like at least a 7-year development cycle, at least, until it comes out. So if you're currently enjoying Guild Wars 2, you can enjoy it for much longer. And even after that, like I said, I think it will never shut down. At least not in the next decade. To be honest, I would not jump to another MMO. I'm too invested in Guild Wars 2. Yeah, I think that is a common like criticism or common concern a lot of players have. But I think if the new game is more MMO light, so to say, a game that has MMO functionality, but it doesn't have, so to say, like the classic tryhard MMO experience, or is somewhat different than a lot of the other MMOs that we have right now. So Guild Wars 2 is open world focused. Guild Wars 2 has like a very big focus in, I don't know, in a lot of things that are focused around open world and parties or squads and stuff like that. So maybe the other game is more focused around smaller parties, like 4 to 5 person parties, something like that. And that's the biggest one. So that you still have the open world aspects of Guild Wars 2 being the main draw of this MMO. And the other one is more an MMO light, something like Monster Hunter in this direction, or like Warframe or something in this, like you have interaction with other people, but it's not so like necessary or so all abundant as it is here in Guild Wars 2. Yeah, that is what I would expect. A little bit of a different aspect of gaming. It's really annoying to not see the boss, I have to be honest. It really is. We will be done hopefully at some point, and then I can restart. That is really annoying me, I have to be honest. Let's just fuse Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 into Guild Wars 3. I mean, 1 plus 2 equals 3. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, Filthy. Yeah, exactly. Better graphics and the combat from Guild Wars 2. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Build crafting from Guild Wars 1. I would be up for that, you know. Build crafting is all what I like about this game a lot. So I think the combat of Guild Wars 2 with better build crafting, with more, I don't know, longevity in a lot of sense, and maybe more interesting things to other audiences as well. You know, I want to have a game that is alive in the long run. So if you just transfer your player base from Guild Wars 2 to Guild Wars 3, I think this is a rather unhealthy way of doing it. You would rather invest some ideas into making the game more appealing to a new audience as well. So I think this idea with the Guild Wars 1 ideas and maybe even new other ideas as well seems like very, very smart. I agree. They can also add companions? Maybe. The companion idea is in Guild Wars 2. I don't see that happening, but in Guild Wars 3 or whatever it will be, why not? Why not? Yeah. Would love some Souls-like Guild Wars, like Elden Ring, but multiplayer. Yeah, exactly. Syrma fighting the boss, can't see the boss, but reading comments? Exactly. I mean, come on. This boss is hard anyway, you know. Why would I look at it if I can't see it, you know? Why would I look on a screen where the boss is anyway transparent, you know? So I can just like read the comments. I think the boss, even that is not correct. I think there is the ring, but I think the boss is somewhere here because the attacks are there. That's so weird, but it's okay. Yeah, I think it should have multiplayer. I think that's pretty much confirmed. But I think it also should at the same time probably also have some more single player possibilities. Because nowadays I think making an MMO that is only focused on like having players playing with each other, not any solo game modes, I think that is very unrealistic. I think Guild Wars should probably notice that as well. Like, look at Final Fantasy, look at World of Warcraft. They are pushing out solo content nonetheless nowadays. All the time. Like, there is almost no new update that doesn't provide solo content as well. And the same goes for Guild Wars 2 to some extent. So I think that's the way to do it in the future. Not saying that you should not like do normal MMO style aspects, but there should be solo aspects in there as well. Exactly, I have to feel it, you know. I have to feel when the attacks are coming. I have to feel where the boss is. Yeah, it's not only about seeing it, you know. Seeing is in video games is overrated. What do you think about possibility to use utility skills from other specs inside a class? So that's somewhat like multi-classing, like we had in like Guild Wars 1. I think in Guild Wars 2 that would completely break balance. I think it would be very fun. I would really like this build crafting aspect. But I have to be honest, I don't see a world where this is somewhat realistic. I think in Guild Wars 2, that seems somewhat hard to balance and hard to implement as well. So for example, how would that work? If some utility skills provide quickness, for example, how would that work? Can you then share quickness even if you're a Alacrity DPS build or something? I don't know. I think that would be an interesting idea, but I don't see it in Guild Wars 2. I don't see it. I see maybe some. I don't see any multi-classing in Guild Wars 2. I think it's too complicated and it's not. Guild Wars 1, yes, but Guild Wars 2, I don't see multi-classing. I just don't. I really don't. What way should I go around making legendary armor? You should probably try to find a game mode that you enjoy and then focus on the legendary armor that you can get from there. So if you enjoy open world, you have to grind a lot of the Soto maps to get the legendary from there. And if you enjoy PvP, you should grind a lot of PvP ranked. It always depends a bit on what content you like. And after that, you just have to like continuously play that. Almost all of the legendary armors are not really hard to get in terms of like what's the crafting process. It's more like you have to invest time into those game modes. So for example, in raids, you have to play raids. In PvP, you have to play ranked. In World vs. World, you have to just stay in World vs. World for a long time. That's just how it works. So I personally would say, if you have a specific one in mind, I can give you a bit more insight there. But in general, just play what you enjoy and play the game modes and just don't sell anything that you will get. And you will, in the long run, be able to get the legendary armor. And the fastest way, if you are looking for the fastest way, is always to go for all of them at once. So crafting one PvP one World vs. World one, 2, I don't know, open world ones, and combine them. Of course, that's not necessary, but that's the absolute fastest way because all of them have some kind of time gate. So if you want to speed it up, that would be the way to do it. Just some tips here. Of course, adjust it to your needs. So almost done, and I can finally restart the game and hopefully also have no glitches anymore, because that's pretty annoying, I have to be honest. Pretty annoying. Sorry for the glitches here. Yeah, PvE is probably the best way. Yeah, I would say if you are into raiding is really fun to do. If you're not into raiding, open world one is quite easy. You just have to invest some time there. And so what is that? How is it? Why can I still see it? It's actually crazy. It's absolutely broken. Absolutely broken. It's fine. We did it. Now we can quickly loot, and then we can respawn. And hopefully respawn with a better... Like, just look here. So, give me a second. I will be right back. Hopefully that works. Hopefully it works. Perhaps if you like, hydrate again? Yes, that would be probably a good solution as well. So we are back, and I think, to be honest, it already looks better. Yeah, I think I can see the ground again, and I mean, maybe it's also just because a lot of allies and enemies despawned, but it looks better to me. Okay, so now I'm not playing Elementalist because we are going to Octavine. So what do we play in Octavine? I guess we play some power conduit or something like that. Something like that. Because you don't have a target at Octavine, which is really, really annoying. Why is this still guy here? No. I want to go to Octavine. Very good. Would you suggest the Soto Obsidian Legendary Armor? Yes. For a new player? Yes. I think that's probably one of the best ones to get. Yeah. It's easy to get. It's somewhat like just a grind and a gold thing, but it's not like you don't have to be good at the game. You just get it at some point. And of course, if you're good, that's even better, but you don't need to invest that much skill into it, so to say. It's more just patience. So I would say yes. Soto is a good... Soto, also called Obsidian Legendary Armor, is probably one of the best, if not the best, legendary armor to get for most players. What's the best relic for Conduit? Depends if you're playing Power or Condi. If you're playing Condi, it's Fractal. Give me a second, I can showcase. If you're playing Condition Conduit, it's Fractal Relic. It's just like giving you more Condis applied. That's just it. If you're playing, where is it? Power DPS Conduit, you're playing with Peta Relic. Funnily enough, this is a relic that looks like, what? It's applying Torment on a power build, but it gives you a 10% damage increase if you Shadow Step on a 4-second cooldown for 4 seconds. So you can upkeep that 100% on a power conduit. Therefore, you get a 10% damage buff against the target, which is obviously really fun and really good. That's why this is the best in slot relic for power and Fractal for Condi. So both of them are Soto, funnily enough. So Soto relics. So let's play some power. Where is it? Don't even know. Okay. Engineer for south pushing? Yeah, that's also a good one. That's true. Engineer for south pushing. Let me get there. I can get some loot. But I just want to have something that can actually hit the Octavine, because it's a structure and it has a really weird targeting. So Elementalist is really annoying, you know, with how the structure interacts with your attacks. You know, you cannot target them that easily. It's really annoying. It's really, really annoying. So I like to play a class that has just straight up like auto-attacking something in front of you. That's good enough. That's what I like the most. Okay, I guess we are going east. That's fine. That's fine. If you untick the new setting to hide pet clone mini-names, you don't see Pocket Raptors names anymore? Yeah, that's really funny. I saw a Reddit post about that earlier, that raptors are also considered pets, or mini raptors for whatever reason. So that's really interesting. I hope they will fix it soon. So that is interesting, to say the least, yeah. So Power Conduit. what is the important part about Power Conduit? What's so fun about it is that you can play Sword and you will be completely fine. You can also play Greatsword on top of that, but Sword is good enough. And you just use this really broken trait here with like decreasing your legend swap by 40% in combat, which is insane. So that means that you just swap off cooldown every couple of seconds and have so much energy to spend that it feels like a piano build without pressing like 10 different buttons. You're just pressing 5 buttons all the time. It's really fun. I really like this playstyle. Yeah. Does Rev have a build that can even come close to Amalgam in terms of open world solo ability? I would say Amalgam is like higher DPS than all the Revenant specs, but it is, in my opinion, you can come with Renegade specifically, is really good as a solo build, and even like Conduit and Vindicator can come decently, have really good solo builds as well. They're more on the tanky side than on the crazy high DPS side, but I personally would say yes, solo-wise, I think Revenant is actually one of the decent specs as well. I think all classes actually have really good solo builds. It's just that Revenant in group play and competitive modes, it feels like it's just like mediocre. It's not like bad, but it's just in group play and solo in PvP and World vs. World, it seems like it's not top of the charts anymore, with the exception of Conduit. Never have heard of someone called Peter Relic. I think Peter Relic, I agree. It's not like, to be honest, I have to agree with you. I think the design of this relic is annoying because it means that you have to spam on a specific target, and it's just really like, it's not a crazy good design, but it's fun on this specific build because you use those attacks without a problem. You know, you shadow step every 4 seconds and it doesn't feel like annoying. So I personally think it's on this specific build quite fun, but I agree the design of this relic is rather annoying and toxic and not really like a good designed relic. There are way better relics out there. I agree with this statement. I agree. Gonna ruin other Revenants when you can swap to the important skill you need in the other legend more often. It's really weird. I agree. I think it's really weird that you have like this specific legend swapping stuff with Conduit here, because it's a trait that you can only use as a power Revenant, because as a Conduit Revenant you want to use this. Yes, good hydrating, good point. And then as a support Revenant you want to use this. Because with this trait you can now share quickness. Thanks. But the thing is, this trait is so interesting, like making your weapon swap so fast. It's just really fun, you know? It just really is. So you proc your relics all the time. Oh, we are already through. I was just doing my rotation and spamming my buttons. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I just think for me it's fun now. Maybe in 2 weeks I will be bored and it's really annoying to play. But for now I really like Power Conduit. It's something a little bit new. Like having a legend swap on a 5-second cooldown or something. I don't know. It's something new. It's something fun. Solo Celestial Vindicator is not bad. No, it's not bad at all. It's really tanky. One of the tankiest builds that you can play, to be honest. Even have some self-quickness. I don't know. It's a good one. Look at this, like, I mean, they are attacking. I don't know if the one burn is like the thing to do here, but I guess I help them now as well. Because one burning now is probably not the smartest way. But okay, we can help them. Don't stop. Nah, holy moly, we stopped in the last second. How much health does it have left? 2%. That's calculated. Absolutely. They knew it. They knew it. That's crazy. There we go. That thing is dead. Now we just wait, I guess. Yes, so Solo Vindicator Celestial is still very good. It's a tanky build. It's not the most damage, but it's very, very survivable. So if you like that playstyle, yes, go for it. Welcome, Haldir. Welcome, welcome. It's actually crazy that our team stopped at 2%. I actually have to be honest, I never saw that. I played a lot of Octavine And now they killed it. Okay, I was just praising them. Okay, I would say the last 2 years when I played Octavine, I think we never had it that like the players actually waited for anything. They were just like bursting it all the time and then just repeatedly resetting it and waiting until South was doing the one burn as well. Yeah, I don't know. Classic experience on Octavine. It must be a skill issue then. I can't seem to come close to being able to solo stuff on my Revenant. I think if you like Amalgam more and you just can like have the feeling it vibes better with you, I mean, sure, go for Amalgam. You don't have to force a solo build that you don't like. You know, that's the beauty of being solo. You it's your decision. So I personally, oh my god, it was a, oh my god, these guys are like smurfing on us. Look at this. They pulled me across the room here. Didn't kill me though. But yeah, I think it's like, it's fine. You don't have to play an Amalgam or different build than Amalgam. Yeah, I personally think it's actually, Revenant is a good build for soloing or good class for soloing, but if you don't find use for it because it's just not your playstyle, that's fine. That's completely fine. At least I played a lot of solo Vindicator and a lot of solo Renegade. But now with Amalgam out, and for example, like, I don't know, almost all of the solo builds I have more fun than with Revenant right now. I don't know, it's maybe just me, but okay, this one attack is also not targetable. That's a little bit sad, but okay. We did it, good job. I think this should be enough. Welcome, Just Hurley, welcome. Anyone got an easy to play spec for World vs. World? I think World vs. World, you can easily play Tempest, for example, in a Zerg. If you're looking for a roamer, you can play almost any roaming build. And there we go. We have to reset. Classic. But yeah, I personally would say for roaming, it's always skill-based. So just get a build that you like the look of. And that's good enough. But for Zergs, I would say like typically like tanky builds, like maybe Luminary, maybe Support Tempest, maybe stuff like that is probably one of the best options for you. But yeah, I mean, just get in with the class that you enjoy the look of, because every single class has a decent build right now in all situations for World vs. World. Tell me what class you like the look and I can give you a bit more of a detailed answer. Use Relic of Zacchaeus and Rapid Float Rate on Vindicator. Really difficult to die on that one. Yeah, I agree. It's really funny to how hard the Relic can carry you. Relic of Zacchaeus is such a good relic, it really is. I needed to have some CC. Do I have some CC kits here? No, sadly not. That's fine. Who pulled it? What is going on? It's really funny, if you don't see the nameplates, you don't see the people, so you just randomly see the attacks being pulled and not pulled. But at least now I'm not like glitching out anymore. That's already something. That's already something. Yeah, sadly this doesn't reset here because it's a structure. A little bit annoying, but okay. That's fine. We did it. Classic. We did Octavine in the 3rd try. That's good enough. Enjoy playing Revenant? Just more familiar with Engineer? I think that's the problem. Yeah, I mean, don't worry too much. You know, if you like Revenant, go for it and just accept that you will need a little bit of time until you get more accustomed to Revenant. You know, it's for me the same. You know, I might need a little bit less time because I play all the classes, but it's always something that takes time. You know, it's not something that you can say you will learn everything and every new class without having any training time. That's just, it takes time. It takes time. I'm trying to play Power Conduit, but I don't understand the basic rotation. Are you able to briefly go over it? Yes, I can. I will first of all also make a video about it very soon. So if you want to have a very concise talk about this, I will talk about this in a video as well. But I can show you, what is the next thing? I think the next one is Death Planet Shatterer and then Drakar. So I will do those two and then I will also show the rotation to you. But I can also explain it here, of course, in try, so to say, but I wanted to show it in the Golem room as well. But yeah, it's actually quite easy to understand in my opinion. Not a hard concept. I play Dragon Hunter right now, more roaming with my buddy. I mean, Dragon Hunter is good. Like Dragon Hunter and roaming is very underrated. Very underrated. it has a lot of survivability and a lot of damage, and that's what you need for roaming. And I like that. It's not the most like played one, but that doesn't mean it's bad. So it's good. Is the Mesmer your favorite class? If so, what's your favorite elite spec? So I play all the classes. If I had to pinpoint, like I said earlier, I think it's still Mesmer, yes. My favorite elite spec is probably Chronomancer right now. But it's really like I don't play it that often, you know. I played it once this year on stream. All the other times I played other classes because I just enjoy playing different classes all the time and different builds. So yes, if you would have to say this is the only class and only spec I would play from now on, then it would probably be Chronomancer. But I would also not enjoy that much, yeah. I just need a better build because I may or may not be running a PvE build. Yeah, I mean, if your PvE builds in World vs. World, it probably doesn't matter which class you play. It's always a bad choice because full Berserker gear will get you killed. It's always, even the most aggressive setups is typically like with Marauder or Demolisher pieces. So you really want to invest some time into researching a build that is like good enough for roaming. You don't have to have Ascended gear, but just having a decent build that actually is made for roaming, and you will notice a significant difference, yes. Paragon is my favorite new spec. Yeah, I actually play a lot of Paragon now as well. I really enjoy the looks and the playstyle of it. It's not the most like flexible one. You always take the same skills for the most part, but I mean, it's fun. I think it's fun. So yeah, I personally think Paragon is good. I like Luminary, I like Conduit, I like Gale Shot. The only one that I don't like, to be honest, from all the new elite specs is probably Antiquary to me. It's not that I think Antiquary is bad, I just think it's not vibing with me. It's not my spec. Doesn't feel like that fun to play. And that's okay, not every spec has to be fun to everybody, so I just accept that and play the others. And play Spectre, for example, instead of Antiquary. That's just how I play. Yeah. What are your hours on the game? So I played like almost 14k hours in this game since like I started. I started 13 years ago at this point, so I played almost 1k hours per year, something around this, yes. So yes, a lot of hours, but it's also now, so to say, a time where I would say there are people that have way more, there are people that have way less. So makes sense. 14k hours, yes, quite good. Did you try the Spear Weaver? I have not tried Spear Weaver yet, but I will get to it. I tried Conduit, I tried Luminary, I tried Amalgam, I tried even Rich List and that kind of stuff, looked at it. And of course I tried, what's the other one called, Chronomancer. So many changes and I have to go one over the other. I really wanted to try out some Healing Conduit because it's actually now viable. Stuff like that. All on my list. We will get to it. I will get to it. Yeah. Yeah, Rich List is really good. I know a lot of people that like Rich List, and it's just absolutely bonkers still. It didn't really receive that many nerfs. So if you enjoy the Spirit Summon playstyle, yes, it is still absolutely broken. It really is. Yeah. Ooh, nice. We have someone that has more hours. Yeah, you see. Oh no, I don't have a key for the last one. That's painful. Let's open the box and I will get a key. There we go. There's a key for me. So, no infusion yet. No infusion yet. Hopefully we'll get some at some point. Yeah. Last thing is, if I was try Mesmer out for World vs. World for roaming, is there any spec you would lean towards? They're all somewhat challenging. I would say Virtuoso is probably the best one for roaming. If you would have to play Mesmer, that would probably be my choice. Virtuoso seems to be a really, really solid one. So, why do you think ArenaNet hasn't implemented the radial mount selection again? I have no clue. I think that is such a nice feature, like having this thing up or customizable. Yeah, it's just something to select the mounts. I have no clue why they haven't implemented that. I really don't. Because for me, that is such an easy thing to do because they already know how it should look like. I don't know why they don't do it because it already works. You know, we have this add-on that does it, so they could just look at the code from that one and will just implement it in their game. I don't know why they don't do it. I really don't know. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's just what... There we go. Now we are back and seeing everything. So I'll answer some more questions and then we'll go and talk about the rotation here. When do you think Arena will announce the roadmap after 2026? I think with the February balance patch, or February, not balance patch, but with the February release, because then the roadmap that we got with Christmas is somewhat coming to an end. So I think it's quite likely that we will get the next 3 months, probably on February at some point, yeah. Yeah, Gale Shot is really fun. I like Gale Shot, but I think the flexibility is a little bit lacking. Yes, I agree. Which heavy armor class can do everything good? Guardian. Guardian is the absolute best for that. For flexible in all game modes, yes. What's your favorite way to make gold? Fractals. Fractals of the Mists. Yeah, Evoker and Ritualist should be a little bit tuned down as well. Yeah, always happy to help. Always happy to help. Welcome, Beard and Rock. Welcome. Been a long time since I was watching you. Nice. Welcome back then. For mount, I just use the alt keys. Yeah, I mean, that works as well. You know, you should use what works for you. Just saying that this mount selection key window thing here from the add-on Blish Hut is really good, and I think they should improve on that. So now let's take a look at the rotation. So the opener for the power conduit is really simple. So you want to precast your enchanted daggers and then instantly activate impossible odds. And then you want to use Death Strike into Shackling Waves. And while you do that, Cosmic Wisdom, then release Potential Assassin and Chilling Isolation. Then you Legend Swap and use your Twin Moon Sweep into Beguiling Haze and your Release Potential Dervish. And after that, you just use your 1 Auto Attack Chain into Beguiling Haze and repeat that with 1 Chilling Isolation and finish with Beguiling Haze into Twin Moon Sweep and swap back to Shiro. And then you are in the loop. This is the whole rotation. And it's really simple to learn, to grasp. And it does a lot of damage. But if that was too fast to follow, I can understand that. You will see it in the video. Video coming in the next 10 days, 7 days, something around that, about power conduit and all the intricacies of playing this build. Yeah. Have you tried Spearweaver? It doesn't feel super strong, but it just clicks with me. Yeah, I think Spearweaver is really fun as a concept. I think the buffs to it doesn't like help too much. It's still a good one, but it's not like crazy giga good. So I think they need to do a bit more there. But I like the concept. I'm with you there. I thought of a way to solve the problem with quickness and alacrity and at the same time reduce the power creep, keep the boons in the game, but make them not shareable. I don't know. I think, to be honest, that seems like a hot take, but I think Guild Wars 2 boons and the power creep, I think it's too late to fix it now, you know? I think if they would now make a change that would drastically affect PvE meta in a way that people would be not able to clear stuff that they were clearing for years because that's just power creep, then I think it's very unlikely that the community would actually enjoy that, yeah? So I personally think it seems to me rather, I don't know, just a little bit unlikely that they will ever do that, yeah. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe they have some crazy plans for that. But I personally think it's just the most likely scenario is that they will try to improve the game, but they will not make any big drastic changes like removing alacrity and sharing quickness from like PvE. I just don't see that. I just really don't. Which is a little bit sad, of course, because oh my god, the skill lag in PvE, crazy. Just normally see that from PvP, from World vs World and Circ. But okay, that's good enough. We get the damage out anyways. But yeah, so I just don't see a world where they actually change something so drastic to Guild Wars 2 at this point. In the PvE specifically. I think they can do it for World vs World and PvP, where the meta is a little bit less reliant around having permanent boons, especially quickness and alacrity. But for PvE, I think it's so reliant. I think there is no way that they will actually change it in a way that you say, okay, now we have no alacrity and quickness anymore. I don't see it. I really don't. Maybe at some point they are bold enough, but I just don't. I just don't see it. Just my honest opinion there. Is Luminary a good choice for beginner? Yes. Luminary seems like to be a very, very solid choice for beginner. It's a class that is not the easiest Guardian spec, but it is the best one if you want flexibility, if you want strength, and you can learn it somewhat slowly and you will slowly get better. I think it's not the easiest. Be aware of that. There are easier Guardian specs, but because of its strength right now, I would recommend that you should give it a try, and it's a good starting point for me, at least, I would say. Yeah. I agree that you have a lot of ways to get alacrity and quickness for yourself, but I think that would make team building, group composition way less interesting, and I'm not sure if that's the way to do it, you know? Fixing Guild Wars 2 in that way, that you have alacrity and quickness, but you only get it yourself. I don't know, that seems like you were forced to run Relic of Rivers, that you are forced to run Pirate Queen Relic. That just seems to me not healthy, you know? At least for me, yeah. I really enjoy being able to use a skill and then speed up the skills and attacks of nearby players, at least for a bit. Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of quickness. I agree. They wouldn't remove them entirely. I agree, but I'm just saying, I think like having supports of boons and stuff like that is for me something that is actually quite... Did we have a commander? Deceit? No. Okay. But yeah, I personally think I think it's too late to make big changes in PvE for that. Is Power Conduit good? Yes. You use Sword with Staff or Sword with Greatsword. Both of them are really good. Yes. They are absolutely strong right now. So Power Conduit is really good, yes. How to get Ascended Weapons excluding Wizard's World? I have a full video on my website. You can type !website in the Twitch chat and you will get the website link, and I have under the new player maps, guides, whatever you want to say, new player guides section, you will get the option to... Oh, we have a really good setup there, so you will find the Ascended Gear Guide there as well. And that should help you. There are all the things, how to get them, what's the easiest, the best for you, listed in a single video. Yeah. DH has higher burst and currently 1k higher damage, but not worth the trade-off optimally. Yeah, I would say Dragon Hunter is in high-end groups where you need the big burst, like in Fractals, and you want to go for a world record or something like that, then yes, I would agree. Dragon Hunter might be a bit better, but I think in a lot of cases, generally speaking, I think Luminary is the best choice for a new player to pick as a Guardian right now, because it's generally really good, it's flexible, it's tanky, it has a lot of utility. I don't know, it's everything in one kit. It's really good. But you should also, that's the important part, just play the class that you enjoy the look of, you know? You should not go for something that you really dislike the look of or the playstyle of, you know? Just because someone told you it's really good right now. So this only applies to stuff that you actually enjoy the look of, yeah? If you don't enjoy the look of something, then you should never consider playing it. Have more crazy idea, have potions for boons that won't keep them up 100% but will give a window for burst damage. I don't know. I feel like I really dislike potion ideas, but I feel like the burst window idea is so good. I really like that idea, that you have the ability to say, now is a burst window, now everyone wants to get quickness. I think that is an awesome idea. But the problem is, can you implement that without making like crazy changes to the gameplay? Like, I don't know, without making any crazy negative changes to say, yeah? So I think it's too late to make something like that. Maybe I'm too negative here, but I personally think it's the most likely scenario is that they will just try to keep how it plays right now and will keep it like for that in the next 10 years. And if there is ever Guild Wars 3 coming out, they will fix this situation in this game because it will completely have a different, but maybe improved combat. That is my suspected realistic scenario, to be honest. I mean, DH has really good survivability too. Yeah, I'm not saying DH is not survivable. I'm just saying that the utility that you provide on a Luminary for your party, while also having really good blocks, mobility, even healing in your kit is really good. But yes, you have the block, you have the Litany of Wrath on Dragon Hunter as well. Just Guardian is just overall a really good beginner spec. Like, it really is. It really, really is. Yeah. We don't have the UI for easily using consumables mid-fight. Exactly. I think it's like, if it would be in the inventory, yes, you can make the inventory smaller. Yes, you maybe could like maybe a keybind or something. But I think having another keybind in the game would also not like make a lot of players happy. So I don't know. Like I said, it's probably quite hard to find a perfect solution. And I'm not sure if they even want to touch anything about boons in this game anymore. At this point, I just think it seems the most likely scenario is that they just try to keep the game balanced, but don't change stuff like that drastic anymore. Doesn't mean it's a bad game or anything, I'm just saying it seems to be rather I don't know, rather unrealistic that they will invest so much time of making UI reworks, making the boons completely reworked, just to announce Guild Wars 3 like a couple of months later. At least that's my prediction here. Look at this, like 42k in open world. Pretty good. Nice, good job. 42k DPS in open world. I like this. This is a really fun spec. It's really easy to play. You don't even need alacrity that much. It's good. We would be like in Witcher, chugging down potions for damage. Yeah, I mean, if it works, it sounds like a fun concept, but I just don't see it implemented well enough in Guild Wars 2 to make it fun. Buffs in Guild Wars 2 feel very impactful, which is great compared to other MMOs. How do you not lose the impactful feeling without making it mandatory in mouse play? I think it's impossible. I think it really is. I think making something mandatory is one thing of making something feeling impactful, and it's really hard to balance something to make it impactful without feeling mandatory. I don't see a way to make, for example, alacrity feel crazy good without having the need to use it in PvE. I would never see that, you know, how? But it's just my opinion, you know. Maybe ArenaNet and the developers there are like crazy creative and have really good idea there, hopefully, but I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Is there craftable Ascended Amulet in this game? Like the Melandro Back Ascendeds? So I think you cannot craft Ascended trinkets, with the exception of the back piece. Ascended trinkets are like completely like get from vendors. I think there is not a single way to craft Ascended trinkets because we don't have Jeweler 500. So it's only always about vendors. So you go to a vendor, you get it as a drop from raids, for example, but there is no way to go to Jeweler, say, I want to craft a legendary, I want to craft an Ascended trinket. That's just not in the game right now. The craftable Ascended ring? Yeah, but I think the question was specifically about the amulet. And is there a craftable Ascended ring? Can you craft it multiple times? Is it stat selectable? I actually have not like thought about crafting an Ascended ring like in the last, I don't know, 10 years. So I'm probably out of the loop. So good point that someone here in chat has the answer there. But I think it's not the rule. You know, you don't have Ascended gear as the rule. So you typically have to go to a vendor. Yes, it's just Guild Wars 2 is a little bit weird in that regard. You have to go to vendors to get gear and not really craft it yourself. That's just, I guess that's just how they designed the game right now. I don't mind it. I think it's okay. Could be worse. No, didn't go off. Core storyline is so boring if you didn't do it as a noob. Yeah, I think I'm so happy that I did all the story achievements before. Like, I would never have the energy to go back and do the core story. It's one of the rare things that I completely skipped on my second account, where I did it here on stream. I just don't want to do the story again. I'm not saying it's bad. I think for a new player it can be quite exciting, but I was never into story. So I think for me that was always something that is like a little bit, let's say, lackluster. Yeah. But at the same time, it's also a little bit outdated, you know. It just feels a bit outdated as well. It's just like 13 years old at this point. What is the Ascended ring called? Maybe someone in chat knows. Rurik's engagement ring. You kind of craft it, but something in the forge, then throw it with the rock in the volcanoes. Ah, okay, yeah, that's a good point. But like I said, it's not real a crafting station. So it's like more like a collection or like a quest that you do. It's not a real crafting. So, but you're correct, of course. It's not on a vendor either. Yeah. So good point. Thanks for bringing it up. Rurik's engagement ring. That's how it's called apparently. Yeah, I'm not a big story fan either. I can totally feel that. And as a geared level 80, you pretty much one-hit everything? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like level 80 and getting full Ascended gear and stuff like that is really changing the gameplay loop in a way that a lot of new player zones, you definitely feel the power creep as well. Especially with the power creep of the like new elite specs and stuff. I think like dungeons, for example, if you look back at the old days, dungeon were level 80 content, so at least the explorable paths were somewhat designed around being done on level 80, at least back in the time that was somewhat of the design decision. And it's really interesting to me that now dungeons are like, you can easily solo them. Back then it was like not undoable, but it was definitely something that a lot of people were struggling to do with. Nowadays, soloing dungeons, it's way easier. That's just because of the power creep, not because we increased the level cap, which is interesting. Yeah. I want my MMO to have lore, but not to have a story like an RPG. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't be the wrong person to ask about story and lore, because I would say I don't really care that much. You know, I want to have a fun gameplay combat loop, and if there's a story, then just don't make it like annoying. If I want crazy good story, I read a book, I watch a movie or watch a TV show or something. I am not that interested in... Oh my god, that was the worst roll ever. That's good. I'm not that interested in a game that like just makes story the only thing. I want to have good combat. If there's good story in there, I don't mind. Just don't want to sacrifice good combat or good, like, just fun, engaging mechanics and stuff like that for story. That's just what I don't like. There we go. Drakadan. Very good. Very good. You can get some amalgamated draconic lodestones here, so that's actually one of the rare bosses where there is actually quite good reward that you can get. Quite good rewards that you can get here. Nice, we did it. Good job. Good job. So, let's clean up the inventory. To be fair, core story is boring, but they got better. Yes, I think the core story is probably the worst part of Guild Wars 2's story. Not because the storyline is bad, just because it feels quite slow in the beginning. And when it slowly then picks up the pace, you're almost at the end. And then you think, it's actually quite a decent story. But then at the end, you have the Scythe fight, or the end fight in Guild Wars 2, which is... I wouldn't say... like, the story is not bad, but how it like is implemented, it just feels a little bit like not as epic as it could have been. You know, that's the sad part. So I personally think, like, in general, like Guild Wars 2, the story picks up and is like probably at the highest, probably during Living World Season 4, something around that. And Path of Fire, I think the story was the best there. It was the most cinematic, at least. Yeah. I mean, not saying that is like better than Final Fantasy story or something, not at all. But it's not horrible story as far as I can tell. But I think the most annoying thing for me was Chante Wild's story. It was not bad, but it was so slow. You know, you had the bears talking slowly, you had no skippable dialogue, and you had a lot of the story being prolonged by doing some quests or something like that. I think that was really annoying. So I think with Visions of Eternity, it was way better. It was funny dialogue, it was faster dialogue, and the story missions felt actually like specifically designed around combat mechanics, not necessarily just doing like a fetch quest or something. But it's also not like the absolute best story I ever saw. Yeah. The Titan fight was so anticlimactic. Yeah, I think that I don't want to spoiler any people that here are in chat and didn't do this Titan fight. But I would say I expected a bit more, and looking back, I can't remember most of it, but it's definitely something that could have been so much better. Yeah, so much better. Yeah, I think, I'm not saying that the Chante Wild story is like not good or it's not funny, because you mentioned it here with Stoic Alba. I think that's definitely a good name, and they have good, funny, like interesting like conversations and stuff, but I felt like Chante Wilds was for me one of the newer expansions that was at the bottom of the storytelling, because it felt like the most sluggish. And Visions of Eternity was better. I think Heart of Thorn story was actually quite good, even though we had the somewhat similar problem to the Scythe fight, that the Mortimer foil was actually really good, but the story was, I think, a little bit rushed at the end. I think they had like 1 or 2 chapters planned, but they didn't have enough time to finish it back at the time. At least that's what we heard back then. So I think it's definitely something that is also not perfect, but that's just my opinion. So people wanted to see some Condi Conduit, so we will play some Condi Conduit now. Condi Conduit, there we go. For Dragonstorm. Krakatorik? Yeah, I think the Krakatorik end line was awesome. I think the Dragonfall fight is not the best fight, but I think the cinematic for it was really good. I agree. It was Living World Season 4 was just peak Guild Wars a lot of times. It had like really bad things as well, don't get me wrong. For example, like corner map or something that's like really bad, like horrible map from like gameplay perspective. But it also has the peaks with like Palava Choco, with like Krakatorik. That was just peak storytelling and really fun and like good villains. Sad that it was over rather fast. But yeah, I agree. Living World Season 4, Krakatorik, that stuff. Absolutely crazy good. Yeah, I can understand if you quit Chantewald's story. It's not a bad story, it's more like the speed of it. The speed of it is the main problem. Yeah, I agree that the lore of Guild Wars 2 is really cool. If you are really into the lore, I think the Guild Wars 2 lore is actually quite deep and like intense. It's just like oftentimes the storytelling doesn't deliver all of it. Yeah, it's sad. Yeah, exactly. I quit Shanti at the start. I got Spear and Warclaw and never went back to the story. I only do convergences and that is it. Yeah, I can understand that. I definitely can understand it. I do the story, every single piece of story content I do once, and then I hope that I never have to go back. Not because the story is bad, just because I don't like the gameplay loop of it. You know, the gameplay loop of Guild Wars 2 story, oh my god. The gameplay loop of Guild Wars 2 story is just, in a lot of cases, it's just very repetitive, you know? And the story specifically, it is just feeling so bad. Like so bad. Because just waiting for a meta event to do the story is just a very bad design, in my opinion, because they just wanted to force to do the meta event. That is like, okay. But then you also have sometimes to do some quests or something. And that gets really annoying if you just did the quest this day and then you have to do it again just so... just so that you can finish the storyline. It's feeling really bad. It's feeling really bad, yeah. End of Dragons was my favorite story, and the end fight was so cinematic. Yeah, I think I personally did not really like follow the story of End of Dragons very closely, because at this point I was already in the mindset of like, I just play the game because I like the combat. I don't care about the story anymore. That started somewhere at the like Icefruit Saga end, where I didn't really care about Guild Wars 2 story anymore. But I think End of Dragons, from a cinematic standpoint, like especially the end fight, is awesome. Like in Dragon's End, that is like one of the best fights that probably any PC game I've played has. Like, it's so good. It's so cinematic. It's a really cool fight. It's power crap, yes, at the moment. It's definitely not as like crazy hard or interesting as we had before. But I don't know. I still think it's an awesome expansion. I really think so. So we can see the damage is still there. It's definitely lower than before. I have to admit here, it's definitely lower than before, and I'm also like far from the perfect rotation here. But we're actually getting some good numbers here. Some good numbers. Yeah, 48k. It's not bad, not bad. Yeah. Have you played Guild Wars 1? I have not played Guild Wars 1 then. Yeah, that's the same thing that I always mention here on stream. I think Guild Wars 1 is for a lot of players a really good game. But for me, the most deciding factor is that I play Guild Wars 2 is for the combat. You know, I really like this fluid mix between action combat and tap target combat. And I would lose this really fun aspect of the combat, of this really fast dynamic combat, when I go to Guild Wars 1. So I lose the best aspect of Guild Wars 2. And if Guild Wars 1 would be a modern game, I might try it. But right now it's a little bit of an outdated game, and it's not my favorite combat design. So right now I don't really see the reason to play it if I still have fun playing Guild Wars 2. If that changes in the future, if I don't like to play Guild Wars 2 for now, then I might look at Guild Wars 1. But for now, I don't know. I think the combat is just not suited to me. Yeah. Exactly, doing 200 events just to progress the story. That's horrible. That is horrible. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It feels more like an RPG. You have like some tactics that you involve. Where am I going actually? Like with the commander? Fire? Very good. Perfect. I like fire. You can cleave a lot there. But yeah, that is what I feel like the most about Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 1 as a comparison. But that is just what I feel. You know, I know a lot of people see that differently. A lot of people like to play slower paced games as well. For me, it's not like I dislike the game. I'm just saying it's probably not made for me. But yeah. So now we are finally hopefully in a spot where we can see what we can do here. So yeah, I mean the damage is still good. You can see not as bad as people said. You know, it's still absolutely on top of the charts. It's such a good build. It's such a good build. And so fun as well. It's just really fluid. I really like the con with DPS rotation, to be honest. Such a good one. How is the stream doing? Welcome, Loopy. I'm doing good. I had a lot of fun and talking about the balance patch and just like, yeah, talking about the game and the future of the game. I mean, that's the usual, I would say. Yeah. How are you doing? How is everyone doing here in chat today? Did you have a nice day so far? And more importantly, did you enjoy the balance patch? You know, I said a lot about what I think about the balance patch, but what do you think? You know, do you agree with my takes? Do you think I'm completely off, that the balance patch was awesome, that everything is perfect? Or do you say there are some things to improve, you know? Coming back to the balance, you know, that's the topic of today's stream, I would say. I just arrived home from dog babysitting for a week from my parents' house. Haven't played any video game for a week. Oh my god. The withdrawal, I can feel you. Now you are back. That's good. That's very good. Very, very good. But yeah, just to summarize, I think the balance patch for me, good. In a decent direction, but could have been way more and way more bold. I don't know if people would agree. If people said, nah, the changes are horrible. Maybe they say the changes are really good. It's perfect. That's what we need. The patch didn't change awfully much. A bit ton for the NG class. A bit torn for the NG changes. I like having stability and quickness on Omega and CC as well. Yeah, I think Engineer is a weird one for me. It has some buff and some nerfs, which is always a... to be honest, like the firearms changes to me are just wild. Because firearms is a trait line that was used on every single build, like in PvP, World vs. World, and in like PvE. So changing a trait line that is already very used is to me a little bit like counterintuitive. You would want to change stuff that is underused, not change something that is useful and make it less useful at the same time also more useful. I don't know. I don't get that change, but a lot of the other changes I see at least the direction. Yeah. Glad you see that. Glad you like that, hero. Glad to help. Thanks for the kind words. Can I ask your advice on how to use the less than 10 energy trait on Revenant? I always screw that one up, don't get the value. So the important part about this trait is that you really have to use it. If you don't use this trait and don't go below 10 energy, then the whole idea of this trait is completely useless. So if you don't use this trait, or if you use this trait and don't make use out of it, it's a completely useless trait. So definitely try to go below 10 energy if you can do that, or at 10 exactly. So my tip for doing that is looking at your energy bar, and if you see that you have, for example, an attack that, or you are at like 12 energy or something, and you have still a weapon skill up that you can use that costs some energy, so that you before you swap can spam your energy, so that you make sure that you are definitely getting it done to below 10 energy, then you should do that, even if the attack is not worthwhile to do, you know? So example, if I want to go below 10 energy on this legend, I can use my stun break to just use that instantly as well. It's not worthwhile using it for the stun break or for the like boons that I get, but it's worthwhile using to go below 10 energy. So sometimes it's worthwhile using just random attacks at the end. Luminary was broken and they make him even stronger on PvE? Yeah, I don't know about this change. I have to be honest, like the seal changes is somewhat... I like the changes on paper, but making Luminary more broken is like, seems weird to me. Seems really, really weird to me. I'm trying to learn the Alacrity Renegade for Fractals and my DPS completely sucks. Yeah, it's all about practice. My DPS sucks on this build as well. It's just it really needs practice. It's one of the hardest builds to learn for fractals. You just have to understand. For example, I'm now at 50 energy. If I use this attack, it costs 25. This one costs 15. So if I want to go below 10, I have to use something else on top of that as well. You know, because it will regenerate while I cast the other things. So that's why it's so important to understand that you can use, for example, this attack because it's an instant cast as well to go below the energy, you know? So this is something that you have in mind if you just play more Revenant, but it takes a while. It's just a practice more practice, be patient, yeah. I mean, Ranger, I have to say I have no reason to use Beast Mastery ever. Yeah, I think the Beast Mastery changes, I am a little bit like, I made a whole video about the topic. I'm a bit concerned about homogeneity, you know, that all the classes on Ranger, all the elite specs use the same traits. You just exchange the elite spec trait line. You know, you use skirmishing and you use marksmanship. Previously, you at least had Beastmaster being used as a soul beast because there's some nice synergy. Now it feels like it's everything the same, just a different profession mechanic added on top. I think it's way more interesting to have unique feeling classes because they take different traits, because they make different use out of different traits. I don't know where they are aiming with those changes, but I think it's not completely bad. I'm just saying I'm not completely understanding it. That's more my issue there. Yeah. Mathematics? Yeah, exactly. So I mean, so if you have, for example, 50 energy, I'm recovering, so to say, a lot per second if I have nothing, no upkeep. So I'm using my Twin Moon Sweep and my Hex Eater Vortex, that costs 40, plus using my Gladiator's Defense is 50. So I can go below 50 even if I have the regeneration. So using this, and my thing, and then swapping with Quickness will be below 50. But of course, that is just practice, you know. This is only in combat though, and it's just practice. It really, you will get there. Just understand how much an attack costs and try to use it just shortly before swapping. And if you don't have a useful attack, use a not useful one, you will still have more use for getting more energy that way. That's my tip there. And of course, if you stick to the rotation, you should also never have that problem, but oftentimes you just have to alter your rotation, you get CC'd, whatever. There's always something that comes between that. Just practice and try to get it done. If not, that happens, you know, happens. I use survival because I love Carnivore with dual maces. Yeah, I mean, that is a fun concept, you know. I like to have a fun concept like that. For example, going to Ranger, playing Ranger, Soul Beast, Scale Shot, whatever you want with like the Carnivore trait. I think that's really fun. So that you choose a different like setup, so that you go for skirmishing and wilderness survival like I do with Carnivore here in my solo Scale Shot build. That's really fun. The thing is, it's not like for a group case, you would never take that. You know, you would always take the most amount of damage. Why would you take a defensive trait line that only gives you a little bit of damage, but most of all it gives you healing if you have a healer? It's just like, it feels like a lot of the trait choices are in PvE rather like rigid. If you're a healer, you take those. If you're a DPS, you take those. That's it. No choices made. That's a little bit boring. But I mean, if that's the way they want to balance the game or change the game, that's fair. It's after all their game. So that's how they have their right to do it, you know. That's just how it is. As a new player, I don't like that Environment locks relics behind achievements, which prevent you from being able to experiment properly. I wish they would rework the relic acquisition. I think that is a fair criticism, but I want to showcase this to you. You can go to World vs. World if you play World vs. World, or PvP actually. Let me showcase this. And if you get any World vs. World or PvP reward tracks done from the Soto expansion, from the Visions of Eternity expansion, or the Chantia Waltz expansion, so the Visions of Eternity reward track here, or the other ones that I mentioned. So for example, where is it? Chantia Waltz here, reward track. You get a selection box for the relics at the end. So you can get the relic without the achievement as well. You just have to play PvP or World vs. World. Just is a big word for a lot of people because some people just don't like those competitive modes. That's completely fine. Then you have to do the achievements. But I can definitely understand that this is a problem. But I think sitting a bit for a couple of hours in World vs. World and capping some camps, if you really can't get the achievement, is possibly a decent way to getting it as well. Just wanting it to mention it here. I tripped, so my balance is definitely worse after the patch. Yeah, I mean, that's fine, yeah. And you can also farm, of course, the Blood Moon weapons. That's a good point. Yes, good point. I like the patch. Suddenly people love my Alacrity Heal Spectre and Fractal CMs. No more, please, Chrono. Yeah, that is good, of course. Yeah, I mean, as I told you before, it's already good. It's just people are always like, ooh, Chronomancer is the best. We have to take it. That was like 5 years ago. That was always like, ooh, Firebrand is the best healer. We have to take it. But people like change so slowly from something that is actually good to something else that is also good, that it's a little bit sad that you need a nerf to actually make the other thing shine more, even though it didn't change at all. So I think Spectre was always in the last year a good choice in Fractal CMs. But yeah, I mean, that's just how the minds are, I guess. Either way, I think that's the end of today's stream. Hope you had fun. I hope you found it entertaining. I at least had some fun. We had some nice debates, and yeah, it was nice. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel if you haven't already, if you're not already there. And of course, !website in the Twitch chat if you want to see anything that I have some guides about. And I wish you all a very good evening, good night, and I hope to see you all in the next stream. Next days, take care, and thanks for watching. See you around. Bye.